Hello there, everybody, and welcome to the NLC Division 2. It is a lovely summer day. You know what that means? Perfect time to stay home and play League of Legends, watch League of Legends, anything League of Legends. I am Brackish Brit. I am joined by the Lumini, my best bud, Black Bloxer, all the bees. How you doing, Max?
I'm good, although it is wet and miserable in London at the moment, so I don't quite think that the summer vibes have transferred over here, unfortunately. Yeah, there we
Real
go.
issue?
There we go. Exactly. It has been a little bit miserable today, but like you said, perfect time to stay in. Sunny, rainy, League of Legends reigns supreme, and we've got 4 amazing games today, right?
Oh yes, and I it's so good to be back on Div 2. I kind of missed you guys.
Mm.
Like, haven't had a chance to be on this split. Work's been horrible. But we've got some fantastic games lined on up for you today. So hopefully we shall all be sated come the end of today's stream. Have you got any highlights that we want to look forward to?
Oh, I mean, all of the games today just look incredibly fun, but Lazy have been looking really good, and Garden Gaming, to be honest, haven't been too bad either. You know, the way that both of these teams have been playing, they're taking wins off of some of our better teams. They have been stumbling against a couple of others, but I think that clash later on today is going to be probably the most exciting, although I don't think any of the games today look like they're going to be boring. Starting off with Fourth Wall Rich Gang, that should be amazing.
Absolutely. Fourth Wall, obviously, they're a little bit behind in terms of games played to the rest of the pack as well. So we're yet to fully understand where they're at. But with the roster that we're seeing from them, Bash, Wantage, they've been in the scene a while, and Vardags,
Hmm.
an OG who's been playing in the competitive scene. He was in the EULCS in 2014.
Yeah. They've been around for a seriously long time. I mean, there are tons of names on both of these rosters that you've been seeing for
Oh, yeah.
ages. Really high level players who are sort of scraping the edges of Div 1 pretty consistently. And you can really tell from the way that both of these teams are playing. So this first game of the day should be super exciting. I don't think there's a bad matchup sort of across the board for both of these teams.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how Unique do in our last game of the day. It's the one that you might look at it and be like, this is probably the least competitive because
Mm,
42, they've been very solid in their wins,
fine.
but they've been a bit mixed in their losses.
Mm.
But Unique, I really need to see how they kind of clap back after they lost to Garden Gaming earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Unique, they looked like easily our best squad. I mean, the way that they were playing was just incredibly strong. All of those members were just sort of, it was working like a well-tuned machine. It didn't look like a squad that was going to lose any, and then all of a sudden they stumble. Now they've got a matchup against 42 who can pull just crazy things out. So that should be really fascinating. Obviously, that's the last one of the day, though, and it looks like we're going to be jumping right on into our first one.
Yeah, Fourth Wall versus Rich Gang, as you said. Eyes on the mid lane for me. Wantage,
Mm.
especially with his just massive love of assassins, has been a pleasure to watch thus far. Kurosh has also had some fantastic performances, although he's stuck more to mages for the most part. So I'm interested to see how that pans out, and especially if Fourth Wall can get Wantage rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, these first set of bans that we're seeing is really nothing targeted right now. This is just the standard bans that we've been seeing again and again. Skarner is the highest pick ban priority that we've had in the tournament so far. Corky 2 has just been completely pick banned, so getting rid of these seems like a pretty good idea, although me and Jay on the last stream a week ago were chatting about the fact that maybe as red side you don't actually want to be getting rid of quite so many of these high priority picks because there are so many at the moment. If you leave a couple, maybe you can get 2 rather than having to scrape together 1 at the very end. It looks like for the minute though, teams are more than happy to just get rid of those as much as possible.
So it would seem, and that's a lot of mid lane focused bans from Fourth Wall, so a lot of respect onto Kurosh. That Victor especially is something I've not seen from anyone else thus far. Brand, however, is something that we've seen played by a lot of these junglers. Bash gonna take that right away from Slice, who has been using it a lot.
Yeah, Bash has been playing it a huge amount as well. Like you said, Slice likes that one too. So it is going to be picked up first. It gives you a lot of flexibility. Once you've got that AP jungle, you can really move things around. It can also technically go into some other spots if you're feeling exceptionally spicy. Although, yeah, we would definitely expect for it to be in that jungle position. So we'll see what the response is going to be. The Gwen, a crazy thing to first pick. Okay, and we're also going to be moving away from those hyper-scaling ADCs, because that's what we've been seeing a lot more of recently. The Aphelios, the Jinx, although the Jinx had some pretty bad days last week, so maybe teams will be moving away from that. But instead, that Ezreal is going to be a very big change of pace, and I like it. If you can pair it up with something that could just leave it, abandon it in lane, and go roam around, you can really counter a Brand pretty easily, because he can get quite low on some of his clears.
Absolutely. And we have also seen a bit of the apotheosis of Ezreal coming out recently as well. A lot of players have really been able to show off their individual mechanics on that champion and have great performances. Vardag's, though, going to be sticking more towards the Jhin here. Does do a lot of damage, and we've got Ezreal being pretty darn squishy, especially if you can get that right click onto him. Rel pairs up quite nicely. Lots of CC, make sure that people can get stuck inside the curtain call or close enough to the pyroclasm when that drops.
Yeah, absolutely, and we would probably expect to see that support being the final lock-in right here. You know, round that out, you've already seen what your opponents are going to be, and yeah, it looks like the move is going to be exceptionally quick. Kensuke instantly going to be locking in this Rakan, and it works really well alongside the Ezreal. In the 2v2, you can get things going, but also you can just abandon this Ezreal, leave him to just try to survive for as long as possible. You're unlikely to be dove too badly by a Jhin Rel. They don't have the best dive combo without blowing, like, everything, and with the flash and an E, you're likely to be able to get away, and I really want to see this Rakan sort of pair up with the jungle, see what you can do with Slice, and try to get some kills elsewhere.
Yeah, Kancha, I think, is going to be decently well unlocked, as you said. Ezreal is basically a free lane unless you play it really, really aggressively. And I don't think Vardags is really going to complain about having a 1v1 lane either, so it's now up to whether Kancha or Grissom can get more done out in the Rift. More mid lane bans coming through now. Vantage's champion pool very much getting targeted. The Zed, the Akali going away. The TF. And, of course, we've seen him so much. Cassante hitting the bench again.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's pretty hard to ban out Vantage considering he played some Draven the other day as well. So this guy likes to play all sorts of crazy pickups, not expecting it to be particularly easy to fully ban him out. So what the next pickup for RG is going to be. They could really do with a jungler at this point, I think. You want to leave that mid lane to be the counter, see what you can do for Korosh. Instead, no, they're going to go straight for the LeBlanc. I am really surprised by that.
Hear me out. Gwen jungle.
Yeah. I was just thinking that. As I was talking, I was like, well, hang on. Because you don't want to pick the Gwen blind that early on.
Are you really blind picking your top laner? Is Typical that good at Gwen? Yeah, it feels like it could just be Slice bringing out his little slice of a counter towards his own brand. See how Fourth will want to round out their composition. I'm certainly not a fan. I certainly am a fan of the Galio. It's a bit of a divergence, though, from the assassins that we see Vantage loving. But combine that with Grissom's Engage, put a hero's entrance on top of that. That is a heck of a lot of CC, especially since you've got a taunt ready to go straight after.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see what this final one is going to be. Looks like the Jax hover. I wouldn't mind the Jax. It gives you a lot of jump, engage. It stops a lot of what a Gwen wants to do if you do end up with the Gwen in your lane, even if it comes through from a gank rather than it being your lane opponent. But that is a pretty difficult composition to fully engage with, I'd say, out of Fourth Wall. You've got a lot of just run at the opposition as your way of engaging, which can be a little bit risky, especially when you've got so many dashes and hypermobile champions on the opposition. So this could be a little bit of an interesting one. Renekton's going to be the hover through and locked in, so Gwen jungle probably going to be. And that is crazy. I mean, I know Typical is excellent, could probably have pulled off the Gwen into whatever matchup you potentially want, but you're going to be much happier to have that Renekton into this matchup. And Renekton nowadays isn't that late game scaler that really can't get anything, early game play champion that can't do anything late on. He's actually fine in the later stages of the game nowadays as just your sort of frontline engage, and I think that was what this composition was really needing.
Yeah, he is just going to do that job really nicely. He can be supplemented by Kanshed jumping in and out with the Grand Entrance, going back with Battle Dance. This is an incredibly tricky team that Rich Gang have put together. It's not the most front to back, though. So if Fourth Wall are able to get an out-and-out engage onto them, I fear that some of their squishier members might fall to pieces.
Absolutely, I really don't want to see any straight-up 5v5 fighting without there being some crazy flanks off of the Gwen, off of the Renekton, you know, because if you're not doing that, I don't know that these straight up 5v5s are going to be working out, but if you can, as the LeBlanc or as the Ezreal, just find somebody out of position, blow them up, and then head on into a fight in a 4v5, I like that a lot more. There's also some pretty good 1-3-1 opportunities, I think for both of these teams potentially, but really for RG, if they can pull those ones off, and that can make it a lot easier to sort of pull fourth wall around the map, make it so they can't just sit and do what they want to do in these straight up 5v5s, because their engage tools are lacking a little bit. You do have the ability to engage if you get a bit of a flank, if you manage to get a sort of death brush going, but just straight up running at your opponents when they are so hypermobile and have as much poke as they do, I think that could be the falling of fourth wall's composition here.
Definitely. And I'm also liking if you're talking about the 1-3-1, the side laning from fourth wall as well, definitely no slouch. Galio, not exactly the biggest wave pusher, but in theory, he should be able to absorb LeBlanc pressure pretty much forever. And it also means that fourth wall don't necessarily need to have the biggest or, the most like right on the action flank wards, because you can TP in and then drop a hero's entrance after the fact.
Yeah.
So the Galio should be able to join the fight pretty much no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely, and I really do like the Galio. I think without the Galio, I'd be a little bit more skeptical of this composition. I think you really needed something beefy to be able to sit in front of the Jhin, in front of the Brand, because Rel's always going to want to go flying in, and you obviously can do that as well on the Galio, but with that hero's entrance, you could play back a little bit more, sit on top of your carries a little bit more and try to keep them alive. Because of the poke that's going to be coming through, those tanks need to keep themselves ahead, otherwise they're going to get shredded, and then you're leaving your backline quite exposed.
All right, well, we are seconds away from finding out how this will go, as we will head onto the Rift for our first game of the day. Fourth wall up against Rich Gang. Welcome to the Rift and welcome to the shop. Many wares he has for sale, as the champions shall join us on the Rift. Early game, it certainly doesn't seem like level ones would be the major call, unless one team really wants to try and upset the apple cart off the bat.
I think it would be a little bit crazy to try anything right now. If anybody's going to do it, fourth will have the slightly better composition, but you would be relying potentially on somebody taking sort of ability they're not particularly wanting to.
Vardag's showing top though.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they're trying to sort of psych out Rich Gang here. It's like, ooh, we're gonna lane swap.
When he's by himself, I don't know how much that's gonna bait. Oh, there's a potential opportunity though for Mirai and Kent to end up stepping into. Oh boy, Kirsch knows something's up. Kirsch is well aware that something is up right now, but they don't know what quite yet. They don't know how much they should be worried. There we go. Oh, they're just gonna jump out.
Yeah.
It's all fun.
Crash down. It's not gonna catch because you always start distortion on LeBlanc anyway.
Yeah.
So just chill on out as the lane will start in earnest. And as you say, the little bait from the side of fourth wall, not really coming too much, although Mirai getting a little bit of damage. A single auto onto each of the fourth wall bot lane. And the meta doth dictate that bot laners, they don't need to leash anymore. Junglers are doing fine.
Yeah, the junglers are going to be just fine in this situation, especially with the Brand and the Gwen. They're going to be able to get through nice and easily. And the fact that they're starting on opposite sides of the map is going to be pretty interesting, though, although that's a big trade bot lane.
That is some poke going across, absolutely. Grissom is the one who comes out of this the worst, of course. He's got potions to top himself back up. Everyone mostly chilling. Really looking to see, of course, who gets that level 2 first. That will be what makes the difference. It looks like it will be Rich Gang. Yep, pretty close. There's the step forwards. Straight in from Miro. The ignite onto Grissom as well. No need to flash. Grissom is already dropping down, and Vardags is going to take a chunk for his trouble as well. Rich Gang's bot lane. They ignite the early one.
They really do, and that's a massive misstep right there from Grissom. This early lane is pretty miserable because you're going to be getting poked out so much. So we are watching the top laners smack each other pretty hard already. There could be a potential solo kill up here too. But yeah, you get poked out quite a lot because of the Ezreal, but you don't have to over-aggress. Grissom was trying to be the aggressive one in this situation, trying to pick up a couple of kills, maybe some summoner spells, and ends up giving an early kill over to Mirai. Now Mirai is the sort of player that you really don't want to be giving early kills over to, especially not on the Ezreal. That's going to make this poke lane that much harder to deal with.
Definitely. Wantage, of course, is going to become a very tanky boy, but right now is going to have to kind of respect that damage Karash will be putting on down in the early stages. He is able to push the wave quite convincingly low. And right now, you're seeing him having to stand way back because Kanshare was off vision. Slice could come in at a moment's notice as well.
Yeah, this is pretty risky right now. You don't want to be stepping too far up. Again, giving an early kill over to an Ezreal is bad. Giving an early kill over to a LeBlanc can be devastating. Bash is going to be spotted out right here. A dive could potentially happen, though. Typical's pretty squishy.
Flashes away from the Seer, though. Won't get caught by the follow-up stun out of the Brand. Grissom is here in the mid lane. Wantage, of course, still dropping quite low. I think after this wave, he may well need to take a reset just for all of that poke damage that LeBlanc is putting down. Look at Vardags having to sit all the way back near his tower, knows that he does not have the license to be anywhere near this wave right now, and it's at a horrific spot as well.
Really is. This was a massive, massive misplay that we're seeing the ramifications of at this point, but I don't think we're going to stop feeling them for a while, at least not until these junglers try to get involved. You can see Bash is on the way down here, so could potentially try to be relieving a little bit of pressure. I'd have to imagine, though, right now, Mirai just trying to push in this wave, heading back to base relatively soon. Gonna have, you know, 500 gold or so already. If you want to keep up the pressure in this lane, you could potentially look to push this one through and head back. But with Bash in the area, you know, an overpush could be a bit risky. If the jungler was down here, I think maybe a dive, but I don't really know that you want to, as Rakan and Ezreal right now, dive onto a rel. I think that sounds like a pretty bad idea.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster, especially since Slice is nowhere near, as you say. Bash will get spotted out now, taking his chickens, so good vision, good tracking from the side of Rich Gang, being aware of where the Brand is. Rich Gang is just going to keep beating away towards this turret. One plate has already gone down. They can definitely look for more. And with this Briar that they and Kurosh have, means that Slice should be able to waltz on in and grab that first set of grabs.
Indeed, it is going to be a trade back and forth right here. Slice straight on to this dragon. It's only a Chemtech, not going to be the best one to get individually, but the dragon priority can be pretty huge. I've seen a lot of teams full commit over to the grubs recently, and they do give you a lot at the moment, but I don't know that you want to full commit right now. Bash, though, potentially looking for another gank here onto Typical. Isn't spotted out this time around, but Typical still playing pretty respectfully quite far back.
And Edinburgh stepping up. I mean, Typical, I think, just smells that something isn't quite right here. I did misspeak earlier. Thank you for correcting me. Drake will go across to Rich Gang. That does mean that the Season 14 trade for Grubs might well come through. Obviously, Edinburgh is the one with the push right now due to that respect that had to be shown. And Wantage, I mean, he's definitely taking the bad side of these trades right now, but hasn't got that much MR just yet. Has got the Barmies, so he can push out waves very, very well. Big trade happening towards the bot side. Ignite was dropped onto Mirai here. Vardags is a little bit low on mana. Grisson's a bit low on health. I don't know if they can get anything more out of this.
I'd have to still prefer the position right here that Mirai and Kanska are in, because they have the pressure right now. They can poke out from much further. Obviously, Jin's poke isn't terrible, but I am definitely preferring what Mirai is able to do right now. And with the slight item advantage too, it's just constantly applying this pressure, making it really difficult for Vardags and Grissom to actually get anything done. The CS gap isn't here, so it is just the kill gap that we've got in terms of the gold. It is a good job so far of Vardags to be able to pick up as much of this CS as possible. As top lane going again.
Big fight happening. Typical has been able to get back to his turrets though. Slice will show his face towards the top side, is spotted out on that ward in the tri-brush. Bash, you need to respect it though. Stuns coming through, Pyroclasm as well. Stun dropping, Slice going low but surviving thanks to that health regen. And Bash is going to drop as well. 2 more kills for Rich Gang in the top lane. Bash, you knew he was there.
Yeah, I think underestimating the amount of damage that a Gwen does early on. I mean, obviously she scales great, but at this point, with a Blasting Wand already completed, yeah, she hurts so bad. That needlework doing absolute work. And anybody tried with the stuns to just keep this Gwen locked down, but it doesn't quite work out. It wasn't even Gwen as immune that was able to pick that kill up. It was just outplays, although Typical getting super low here. Needs to get the healing slices here.
Furry will get the trade down, but Slice is here. And he'll take a slice out of the Jax, trading on back. And that's a massive wave. No TP for Edinburgh as well. Typical's laughing.
Yeah, this works absolutely fine for him right now. Already up by about 20 CS, and that gap is not going to be closing. It's not like Eddie is going to get back for this wave at all. And as you highlighted, Typical more than happy with that one. Slice also picking up another kill, 2-0-1 right now. Sitting pretty in terms of items as well, and is just making this Gwen jungle work. We were questioning the first pick Gwen, but when it's in the jungle, when you're able to play a little bit of a bait and switch like they were here, it seems to have just worked out so well, and it is working out in this battle for the AP junglers.
And then Slice, clearly very comfortable on the brand and clearly very comfortable playing against the brand. Comfortable enough to lock in that Gwen straight away, and it is definitely paying off right now. Obviously, you're not going to farm as fast as the brand, but in these skirmishes that we have seen so far, she has definitely had plenty to say about that. Rich Gang, they hold a 2k advantage before the 10-minute mark.
They really do. It's just a huge gap right now. And in terms of scaling, both of these compositions have some pretty good bits that don't scale so good. Another fight for the top laners. Typical's just dead.
Back and forth. One last auto would do it. Typical tries to flash into the brush, but it is not going to work out for him. Edebury is able to redeem himself. We'll be able to drop that wave into the tower as well. Typical's TP has just come back up, but I think it is a long enough death time that that wave should be considered lost.
Wave's going to go over as well as a turret plate. That does a huge amount for Eddie Burry to get back into this game. Really needed that solo kill, and that's a pretty big misplay right there out of Typical. Was in a massive advantage, like we said, but just got a little bit too aggressive, feeling himself a bit too much. Typical trying to hunt out Eddie Burry is going to be able to stop this back. Without the flash, isn't going to be able to pick up that kill, but still delaying the base is going to be huge. Eddie Burry is way too low to be able to stick around, and so this should be a little bit of a trade back. Typical get a tower plate, maybe push this wave under at least, and get a little bit of priority for his jungler if they want to go towards the grubs and even those up 3 for 3.
True shot barrage delaying the back out from Grissom there as well. Bash is trying to make his way in, level 8 on the brand. Kansha and Mirai are aware of what's going on. Curtain Call will come through as well, but Kansha is just kind of laughing as they walk on out. The last shot will not even connect. This is a rough situation for the fourth wall bot lane. Wantage, again, has yet to come into his own. He's able to push out the waves pretty well, but Kurosh is punishing him for it every single time he steps up. Vardax might be in a little bit of trouble here, actually. Slice currently in the bot side. I think he is on the Drake, so any dive might be a little delayed. Just on spawn, yeah.
Yeah, not going to be able to go for that one. So, Drake heading straight on over. RG being able to pick up a second one would be pretty huge. We do have some pretty good ones left available. We'll see what the soul is going to be. So you can see Kurosh, Kansuke, they're going to sit around in this mid lane, potentially try to push on over and get Bash off of these grubs. Is going for the 6 grubs power spike. Looks like they're going to be able to pick this one up nice and easily as well, although
Kurosh is going to take a stun, but there's the Magnet Storm. The follow-up could be good here. Kancha tanking the worst of it. Grissom is the one dropping low.
Right.
Wantage, rather, that drops first. Grissom is able to trade one back, but look who's here again. Slice, after taking that second Drake, shows up to the fight and will make sure the Rich Gang maintain their advantage. Typical now jumping for Edebury as well. Bash has to flash, will give up his Gromp for his trouble as well. There's some good trade back here from fourth wall, but Rich Gang, they're still running the Rift.
yeah, they've got 6 grubs and not a whole lot else. A good bit of a gold lead as well, about 2,000. Mayberry is going to at least survive the last ticks of the Dominus, but that fight where you have both Mirai and Slice show up just makes it basically impossible to actually play that one out. The amount of damage that these two champions can do at the moment is huge. We do now also have that Trinity Force completed onto Mirai, so they're hitting like an absolute truck at this point. And just really showing what this Ezreal can do at the moment. It's interesting to have moved away from those hyperscalers almost immediately within just 1 week, but they really did not look that great before. Is Edebury going to get dove?
They have actually taken tower aggro though.
Yeah.
Edebury went in and did not actually wait long enough for Rich Gang to start the dive. Typical is going to drop very low though and will fall down. Kansha here to try and help Slice out. It will be a simple putting a hand up to fourth wall and ushering the Gwen away. Edebury played his hand a little bit too soon.
Yeah, went a little bit early on, was kind of expecting them to hit him, which, you know, makes sense. but just use that counter stance at the wrong time. Still, it baits them in long enough for you to be able to pick up a kill for your team. Slice is threatening right now, and Eddiebury is not particularly strong compared to this Gwen. Just going to keep an eye on those health bars, because we are going to watch another push through the mid lane right here. It looks like Mirai is just trying to absorb as many turret plates as they can. Is that the needle?
He's got no mana. This is so free. Slice gets to pick up a Rampage. Already with the Nash's Tooth, people, they disrespect the Gwen. Oh, she's a late game champion. Not when she gets 3 kills early, she isn't.
Brackish, I quite like Eddiebury as a player, but that did not feel good, did it? That was a play that just didn't need to happen. You knew that the Gwen was in your lane, hanging around. You knew you had no mana. Yeah, you're just disrespecting the jungler right here. But surely, as a top laner, you know the matchup between a Jax and a Gwen pretty well. That's not an uncommon matchup to be seeing. However, we are going to get a potential dive here onto Typical. 3 members chasing him down.
Hopefully for them, it will not be a dive, I think. Typical is going to be able to try and get most of his dashes through. But against that much CC, there's really not much that can be done. His flash not quite coming back up in time to help. Vardag's going to be able to sit under the tower a little bit, although Mirai just going to walk up, body him out, forces the flash as Kancha goes forward. Rich Gang running towards mid. They are going to look to try and contest this one. And that did open up that kill. The opportunity for Eddiebury to take first brick in the top lane. That bot lane turret should fall pretty soon as well, though. Kurosh has been steadily chipping away with it after all that damage Mirai and Kancha did to it early.
Absolutely, we are going to see the move over onto the Rift Herald right now. No real response, despite the fact that Slice, Typical, they're all in the area. However, Eddiebury trying to steal away this red buff is going to get collapsed upon just a little bit. Should be able to just jump away from this one. Yeah, loses a chunk of his health. Doesn't actually manage to pick himself up the red buff either. And like you said, is going to be that brick going down in the bottom lane. With that Rift Herald picked up, though, for fourth wall, they should be able to use that to try to break down this mid lane. You'd have to imagine the bot lane still got a lot of health. Something that's been really interesting to watch this game is the way that Mirai and Kansuke have been playing out this lane, because the amount of dashes, the mobility that this bot lane has is huge, and we saw it really in that mid lane play where they were able to chase Vardags just straight up off of the tower. These two champions work so well off of each other. You get a lot of repositions out of the Rakan when you have an Ezreal who's able to move around so much, and I wonder how effective fourth wall are going to be at actually getting on top of Mirai and Kansuke to actually shut them down, because that could be a huge pressure point for them. These two champions are currently working really well.
Absolutely, they are currently 2 kills on Mirai and plenty of places to go. Grissom tries to jump onto Kurosh, but again, this LeBlanc, it's pretty much impossible to lock her down unless you have really well-stacked CC chain. First Cloud Drake will spawn onto the Rift in 10 seconds time. That's what these teams are fighting over. I'm sure we'll take some CC, but the Celestial opposition will keep him good and healthy. Fourth wall are the ones that complete the push first, so they can walk on in. True Shot Barrage will keep eyes on them. There is also that Scuttle Vision that will spot it out. Vardags was the last body they saw, and of course they've still got plenty of vision. Trinkets can go down. The Drake has now been released. Fourth wall need to decide as the TP is indeed coming through. Trying to group back up. Slices on the flank, though. Vantage trying to close in for a taunt angle. As Kancha looking for the quickness.
Only
has to
one.
flash to find some chances onto people. Bash found completely wanting off to the side. Vantage also looks for an engage angle. It feels like there isn't one there, though, Bloxer, as Rich Gang are chasing them down. Eddiebury, though, goes back in, tries to find Mirai. He will not be able to do it. It's a double kill for the Ezreal, and Rich Gang will relent, happy enough with another one fight and the Cloud Soul point.
This is part of the issue with fourth wall, the reason that they haven't been able to pick up as many wins as they would have liked. Team fighting just in the wrong situations a lot of the time, and we really saw it there. The sort of flank we saw out of Slice, well, it wasn't the hugest thing, it was just enough to be able to split fourth wall up, get them on their toes, make them run away, and then the poke, the chase that you have out of these hypermobile champions was just huge right there. A really great fight for Rich Gang. They're going to walk away with a third Drake already on soul points at just 17 minutes into the game, which can be huge. Next 5 minutes they can fight around this upcoming soul, or they can leave it alone entirely. They don't need to fight for some Drakes for a while if they don't want to. They can instead focus around the Baron when it spawns. I really, really like the way that Rich Gang have been playing this one out, but we're going to see a big siege onto the mid lane here.
Yeah, TP coming in to keep that minion alive. Look at Bash's health, though.
Whoa.
Might not matter all that much as the damage turned back around. Kurosh is the first to drop. Slice goes back in, though. Goes unstoppable. Vantage will drop as well. The rest of fourth wall will have to fall back. The turret was not claimed. Rich Gang still looking for more. Mirai looking for that angle. 404 on this Ezreal. 1.5 items completed. Fourth will. They will survive. There's no wave for Rich Gang to play off at the moment. That does mean they can steal more camps. They can steal more gold. They can apply more pressure, make it harder and harder for fourth wall to walk into their side of the rift.
I feel like we finally got to see what fourth wall are actually trying to do with this composition. We finally got to see the sort of combo right there between the counter strike, a bit between the W out of the Galio, and then you slap the Brando on top of it. That's what this composition is trying to do. But the second that goes down and Vardags is like, oh, perfect. Curtain call, let's go. I'm shooting fish in a barrel. Immediately Slice steps forward, pops the needlework, and you're just able to turn. Of course, part of that is because of the amount of gold that you have in your back pockets right now as Rich Gang, but the other bit of that is because fourth wall doesn't have some long range engage, you're basically all engaging right on top of each other, and Vardags was not sat back in the backline. He was right there, super easy to get on top of by Slice, and it just meant that team fight went wrong pretty much the second that it started. Sure, you get a couple of kills, but you're just giving more and more gold over to Rich Gang, like you said.
It's interesting as well. We said that obviously we liked the Galio, bit tanky. Bash might be caught. Hero's entrance coming through. Last little bit of damage will drop him down. Vardags walks in to try and help, but he's going to drop as well. Wantage falls also. Grisson's got no way out. Edaburi being chased off the rift. Already a double for Mirai. The Ezreal will not look for more. Typical is still pushing the bottom lane. If they wanted to, they could look for the Baron in 10 seconds time, but of course, death timer's not long enough yet, perhaps, as they actually
still
will continue
looking for
their way up. Edaburi has no TP.
Yeah, is now forced down towards the bottom side to respond to Typical. Does stop that tower from going down, but is going to lose out onto the Baron. Really unfortunate play right there for fourth wall. The only reason they haven't already lost the Baron is because it wasn't up. This is a little bit of a domination right here from Rich Gang, and another engage out of fourth wall that takes them too far forwards, out of position, and nobody is tanky enough. I think I made a sort of gentle allude to it earlier on, but probably should have pushed the point a little bit more. If the tanks of the Rel and the Galio fall behind in this game, they're just gonna not have a composition that works at all, and the tanks fell behind a little bit and the composition just doesn't work. You need to have that engage that can actually just run at the opposition and into a poke composition. The second you fall, yeah, this is what happens.
Kurosh might not realize what he's gotten himself into. Stunned up, locked up. There should be no way out. The explosion for the passive will take it down, but Slice wants a slice of this. He's feeling real confident. True shot barrage coming forward. He's already knocked down one as Bash drops. Kanshin Mirai now looking to come in as Vardags has been caught up in the river. The chase down will not come through as Vardags will flash away, but they still smell blood. Edaburi is low. Vardags is able to wander away. Kurosh drops. It will be traded for Bash. Fourth will pick up a tower as well. But still, again, all of these plays, that was fourth wall initiated, but it certainly, as soon as Kurosh went down, Slice knew what he wanted and he was going to get it.
Really knew. We're going to see another engage down in the bottom side again. Good stun. Just doesn't work out. TP going to come through as well. And Prison, Wantage, they just need to run away here.
Mirai comes over the wall as well. Bash is going to come and try and help out, but I think it's too little, too late as the tier 2 turret will drop. The last piece of standing gold now outside of fourth wall's base is in the top lane, and Typical has very much had the advantage of that matchup for most of this game.
Yeah, other than giving over one unfortunate solo kill, being said, did take a turret shot or two there. That wasn't ideal.
The thing is, the Jax is ulted. There's the Dominus now brought in late. There's the flash forwards. Typical will take it down. Wantage does not manage to get him into tower range. It is going to put a decent amount of damage down, but he is a pure tank. You're just not doing enough. The LeBlanc clone is going to be able to get Typical out. No such luck for himself, though, as Vardags will be able to pick up one in trade.
Yeah, but that is going to be traded over for a Drake. You lose yourself a member, you end up picking up a kill and lose the soul. I think Cloud Soul is also pretty perfect right here for RG. They're looking to move around the map so much, so many champions that absolutely love a little bit of extra movement speed right now, and it just makes it that much more miserable for Fourth Wall to try to get yourself over to plays, because it feels like Rich Gang are just getting to these plays faster with more members, and then they also have that gold advantage, can smack them with their wallets afterwards too. 2 items completed across the board right here for all of the carries on RG, whereas you're just about scraping together a second item for a couple of your members as Fourth Wall, but they are nowhere nearby. I mean, 7-0-8 right now for Slice.
Oh, yeah.
Slice has had an absolute monster of a game right now.
Only 3 of the takedowns Rich Gang has picked up, Slice has not been a part of.
Neither is Mariah, to
Doing
be
an
fair.
amazing job. Doing an amazing job on the Gwen. About the Cloud Soul, yeah, absolutely perfect for what Rich Gang wants to do. I did want to wax poetic a little bit, because like the Elementer there, I feel like Cloud Soul is discarded, a bit intangible in its benefits to some.
Wow.
Gosh. My gosh. Vardag's dropping.
Wait, you got
Dropping.
Mariah with the snipe.
Mirai will snipe him with the true shot barrage.
Oh, Mariah's having
Cloud.
a game right now.
They're both having a fantastic performance, and I was looking at Kurosh at the start of this game. The LeBlanc has definitely done some work, but it has absolutely been jungle and AD carry that have been the real beneficiaries of this composition. Fourth Wall still yet to find the engage that they have been begging for, searching for all game long. The push comes through now. It might be this sort of moment that Fourth Wall can find the kind of fight they want in that situation where Rich Gang have to commit to try and take one of these towers down.
Absolutely, and tricky time to try to talk about it as we see this much of a push coming through. I think people are going to begin to back off, and I would actually like to put a little bit of love onto Kurosh right here. This composition really doesn't work without the LeBlanc being annoying. Sure, you'd love your LeBlanc to just be one-shotting everybody that she sees. That's the ideal. But without Kurosh, you're not able to have that constant pressure in the bot lane that's drawing somebody over. Eddie Burry joins more of these team fights that we saw around the top side. Without Kurosh just pulling somebody away into the mid lane, as we just saw, you're not able to push as effectively into the top side. This LeBlanc is so critical for just dragging everybody around the map. It makes the 1-3-1 work. And so even though Kurosh does not have the most impressive KDA, hasn't gotten the kills like you would love your LeBlanc to, has been just crucial to making this RG composition work the way that it does. And I think hats off to whoever drafted this comp, because I really love the way that all of these bits are playing off of each other.
And it's played off each other so well that Rich Gang is 11,000 gold in the advantage at 25 minutes. A second Baron is joining us on the Rift in 35 seconds. Who knows if they'll even look to take this one, as Fourth Wall again being muscled back towards their base. Grissom looking for the engage, not able to find Mirai hits, mostly the tankier members. Typical tanking up all of this damage. Slice has Edinburgh towards the side. Typical takes down Bash, and Fourth Wall again put to the sword, to the scissors of Slice, as the Gwen will go forwards. It's a double kill. Vardag's left all alone in his base. A triple for Slice, and Rich Gang will take it down. 26.5 minutes. When it started raining, it started pouring, and they will take their 4th win, sticking near to the top side of the table.
Yeah, definitely feeling a little bit rainy right now for Fourth Wall. That was complete domination from basically the very start to the very finish. And I gotta be honest, it all started in the bottom lane, right? A little bit of over-aggression, which gives an Ezreal a kill. And from that moment on, it never actually felt like Fourth Wall were in this game fully. They never got themselves back into this one. Then top side goes wrong. And then mid lane just is constantly getting poked out. There were no winning lanes. And even the lanes that looked like they could have done better for themselves, potentially the Jax, potentially the Jhin down in the bottom side, individual misplays from a couple of these players meant that there was just sort of nothing you could do. The brand was just relegated to the farm realm, which brand doesn't hate, but then you have to rejoin with your other team members in a good position. They just weren't, and the composition just couldn't get going.
And from that point on, there were a couple of bright moments, good picks, good attempts of plays. But as you said, the tanks fell behind, and it meant that the front line was not really there for Bash and Vardags to play behind. will end up being a loss for Fourth Wall. We'll see them again a little bit later in the day against Lazy in Life, but before then, we've got plenty more games. Well, another game, and then that one. However, before that, we do have an interview coming in. Thank you, Zoe, on production. When it rains, it pours. We do, however, have an interview coming in very shortly, I believe, with a member of Rich Gang. If I was not much mistaken, break first. Sorry. We will be throwing it to a break, and then we will be back with an interview with the victorious Slice. We'll be there in just a couple of moments' time. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody, as we are joined by Slice after that amazing Gwen performance. Slice, I've just got to ask at the back, that was a really quick lock after you saw the brand. Is she that good?
I mean, in my hands, she is, which we saw. It's like, I know Bash, and I saw that he picked Brand a couple of games, So it's like I went into Google and searched brand counters for jungle, and the first thing that pops up is Gwen, and I'm like, that's so true. She's so broken. And I'm like, we bait them into picking brand, and we pick Gwen, and we just win the game, which we did.
We love some good prep.
Yeah, seems to have worked out brilliantly for you. Obviously, you had an absolutely monster game, didn't die a single time. Neither did your ADC, though. What was it like sitting in the jungle, having a good time, and then seeing your bot lane were just crushing it individually? What was that doing for the sort of morale of the team and for your pathing as well?
I mean, it just made everything easier if I can just farm in peace and do everything I want to without being contested. It just makes the game so much calmer and easier to take over.
Mm-hmm. And then once you got sort of out of those laning phases and then into the team fights, what are the comms like for you guys? Who is it actually calling all the shots? And what were you looking at? Was there somebody you were specifically trying to get in these fights? How were those looking?
I mean, it's like we pre-call like how we want to fight, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like everyone gets assigned a role or something you could said, and then we just like know how to play it. So we're just. I mean, I think the draft is just that didn't even matter. I think the draft is just ours is so much better. So we're just out to win anyways. But yeah, it wasn't too much of calling like that.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting to know.
So with that win, obviously, that's your second to last game in the first round robin wrapped up. Last one's up against Chaos on next Thursday. How are you feeling about that? How are you expecting to sit once the first round robin is all said and done?
I mean, I think we solved like most of the issues we had in the when we after we lost those two games. So I think like right now we're just looking to continue the win streak and go playoffs and promote to Div 1.
Great
So
to hear.
we're pretty calm about it.
Pretty calm in the Rich Gang camp. That is great to know. I'm sure your fans will all be very much happy to hear that. Thank you so much, Slice. Any more words for shout outs to the fans before you head off?
No, I just have to say, Bash, it's soon time for you to win against me. Thank you, guys.
Thanks very much, Slice, for the interview. With that, we are going to throw it to another break before we come on back for game number 2. Lazy in Life going up against Garden Gaming. Should be another fantastic matchup. We'll see you in a few minutes for that. Welcome back. We are just about getting ready for our second game of the day. Lazy in Life versus Garden Gaming. Both teams that have been sat near the top side of our standings for a fair old while. And of course, Garden Gaming coming in on a big high after they took down Unique yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Unique, they were just dominating matchups. It wasn't just they were winning. It felt like the other team didn't get a chance to play the game whatsoever. And so for Garden Gaming to just waltz on in and beat them like that,
They completely flipped the script.
yeah.
Like, Unique were the ones completely unable
Mm.
to play the game. I'm looking at the stats now, and it's like
It was domination.
domination pretty much in every lane, in every form. Uzol, especially that top lane, doing fantastic work on that Rumble. And Unique, obviously, we'll see them a little bit later today. We'll see how they can bounce back when they play against 42. But let's talk more about Lazy in Life as well. Of course, they do have a bit of a good luck charm in the bot lane. Tidebringer, 100% win rate in all of the games he has played since the RPS.
Yeah, he's been just so strong for a really long time as well. We often have players who have massive peaks, but not fall off, but it comes back down again. Tidebringer seems to just be on a roll at the moment, basically unstoppably. It's going to be really interesting to see what he can do up against MKL, who is usually one of the better bot laners that you see in pretty much every league I've ever watched him play on. I mean, just so crazy insane. And thank you very much for our stats, people. 100% win rate right here on the Seraphine. I mean, crazy, right? The amount of wins that Tidebringer's been able to pick up, but MKL, no slouch either, and I think this is going to be a really fascinating back and forth matchup.
Absolutely. And I think the Seraphine speaks a lot to sort of the style the team shows as well. I mean, you pick the Seraphine in bot lane, that opens up the mid lane so Piebald can play things like the Corki that we have seen him pop off on so many times. And of course, AD mid laners being on vogue at the moment as well. Having that versatility in your bot lane is very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. If they can make this bot lane work sort of the way that it has so far for them, I think that Lazy in Life are going to be in a really good spot to be able to pick this one up, but you really can't just look at Garden Gaming and go, oh, we're going to be able to beat you out. I mean, I think Squiggly's been someone to really watch as well in this mid lane, has just been looking super strong recently, has been bringing a lot of varied, interesting picks to the table as well, and Piebald, I haven't seen so much from him that's making me think, next level player. Obviously, would love to be proven wrong, would love for this mid lane to be able to pop off, but that could potentially be somewhere Garden Gaming could try to play around.
Certainly. And like Strato in the top lane, Miltrick in the jungle, also no slouches either. They have both had some great showings in various of their matches as well. I'm looking to try and focus in more on the bot lane though, because we already talked about Tidebringer. MKL doing pretty well for himself as well. Has been like even in their loss, they've been pretty consistent.
Pretty good,
and they've always been contending. Like they've never been smashed in a game, even in their 2 losses.
Yeah, and it's just a bot lane that is really fascinating to watch because MKL, known usually for getting pretty aggressive, but to be honest, has been playing bot lanes in this tournament so far that are a little bit more sit-back scale. Obviously, the Jinx, as we were saying, has been high priority previously, sort of fallen off. But also things like the Varus, the Ashe, champions that you're not really looking at as, oh, they're going to be the next level, super aggressive early on. You're kind of more trying to just play out your laning phase, get into these team fights, front to back as best as possible. Maybe it's even the Poke Varus or an AP sort of variant of the Ashe she can build in a pretty large range of ways. And so interesting to see. I would like for MKL to pick something up a little bit more aggressive potentially. Obviously, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if we are seeing the meta shift away from these late game scaling hyper carries to these more early game focused picks, if we are going to get to see the Jhin, the Ezreal, maybe the Draven, something like that picked up, then I think MKL could pop off even more than he has previously. Rather than just not getting smashed in any of these matchups, actually be the one to be able to just completely take over and dominate a lane.
We'll see if they are able to do that. I feel like in the Tidebringer lane, that might be a bit of a challenge. Like Seraphine, if she does come out, of course, not really the champ to win a lane, but also very hard to like hard crush unless you can really lock her down in the early levels.
Yeah, it's one where I'm like, do you just ban it, right? Do you really want to give over this Seraphine?
Maybe. Honestly, I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah, I think in terms of champions where I'm just like, I think you can just sort of get rid of this one, don't worry about it too much. I think the Seraphine is sort of the highest of those priorities. Obviously, when we have a look sort of at what Sim likes to play, it's very aggressive. Really likes to play these big, beefy frontliners, the sort of Alistair, the Maokai, some Rakana as well. The sorts of things that can just go in. That works pretty well alongside a Seraphine, but it doesn't work as well in the current meta alongside most other things. The Ezreal also works, but those two, you could potentially get rid of them. We've seen how strong the Ezreal can be. I'd love to see a Seraphine ban here. I think you need to force Tidebringer onto something different. It sort of rock the boat a little bit, because the way Tidebringer is at the moment with the head of steam he's got from the RPS, the way that he's playing on the Seraphine, I think at the moment he's just too comfortable, and you need to make him think about something different, and maybe that's the way you can sort of pull out a lead in this bottom lane.
Take him off autopilot. I like it. And yeah, perhaps giving MKL that little bit more of an aggressive bent towards the bottom lane might just be the thing to do it. Of course, I'm also looking up towards the top side. As we said, Uzol in their previous game did pop all the way off on the Rumble. That's not to say that Strato is any kind of slouch. Obviously, we've seen quite a lot of Cassante out of them. That's one of those few matchups that can at least survive the Rumble matchup. I mean, I don't know how many players in Div 2 have an Udyr in the wheelhouse, because that's one of the champs that can actually beat the Rumble down.
Absolutely. It's really fascinating to see, actually, looking through a lot of these top laners' stats and seeing what they play, because it feels like basically nobody, if you just look up games played, actually plays the Skarner, but that's just because it's been banned the entire time. You just can't play it. But if you are being forced to ban away the Seraphine, maybe the Ezreal too, if you are trying to sort of rock the boat a little bit, maybe that's a situation where you do actually end up allowing a Skarner to slip through. I think both of these top laners would be absolutely fine playing it. And you talk about, you know, how Uzol likes to pick up this Rumble, but it's not like Strato doesn't play it either. Strato also has picked up the Rumble, has looked really good on it as well. So either of these top laners could go for something, and I hope that we do get to see a really aggressive top lane matchup. I think the only matchup I'm not expecting to see massive explosives in is this mid lane, and I think that's sort of been the way it's been for at least 2 years at this point. The mid lane isn't the focus beyond what they can do when they roam around into other people's lanes.
There's occasional solo bolos coming in every so often, but for the most part, as you say, yeah, it's all about how well they can enable their side lanes. A nice early Zyra ban will be posted up by Lazy in Life. No? Wait. Which side is which here?
Hang on a minute. I'm gonna imagine that the names are correct.
Okay. So, Lazy on the red side, Garden Gaming on the blue. That checks out a little bit better. And there is indeed the Seraphine ban that you were extolling the virtues of Tidebringer. Is going to have to show us something else in this game.
Yeah, I really like the fact that you get rid of the Seraphine. I just don't think that allowing that Seraphine through was going to be a good idea. He's just too good on it, right? If you give it over and you lose to it, then you're just another stat. You're just the 6th person to have lost to this one. Get rid of it. Force him to do something a little bit different as... Was that a missed ban? That was a missed ban out of Lazy. I'm not sure if that's something that they have to do or if it is just a mistake that has gone through. Either way, don't have a ban right there. The Skarner will be taken off of the board though. Again, nobody is allowed to play the Skarner, and the Rumble is going to be that final thing to be taken away. I could potentially see a top lane player picked up pretty early on. But, oh, I forgot about the Corki. I'm so used to seeing it on the ban hammer. Yeah.
I wonder if that might have been what was banned had Lazy actually banned something. Second there. Will get locked in by the side of Garden Gaming. Squidly should be just chilling on that. It's one of those champs that, you can just scale up. Of course, Pieball will have to see what he wants to pick up to go into that. We've seen a lot of people extol the virtues of the Yone, but a really good Corki has also been able to just flip that matchup wholly into his own favor. So...
yeah, it's really 50-50 at this point, and the thing with the Corki is you can also move it around, obviously. It doesn't have to be a mid laner or an ADC at this point. Obviously, we see it in the ADC role a lot more, and I think MKL played it beforehand, before it was even changed around, so I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that one still sent down into the bottom lane, but obviously it can go wherever you want. The response is going to be the Ezreal, and I mean... We've seen what the Ezreal can do already today. Those two being picked on opposite sides means whatever the supports are, they're just going to get poked out constantly. It makes it a really miserable lane to sort of play with your supports, and once we get around these team fights, that's a ton of poke both ways. If we do end up seeing two massive poke compositions, that makes these team fights really fascinating.
Yeah, and see Pieball looking to look for a sort of a mitigating matchup for the most part. Orianna, certainly I don't expect to annihilate Corki in trades, but should be able to keep herself relatively health and safety in that lane. Kai'Sa locked in as well, though. I mean, perhaps a little bit early for Garden Gaming to be revealing the flex, but if they want to try and lock in a full bot lane here, first rotation, then that's not the worst.
So you're thinking that this could be the Corki and the Kai'Sa together, potentially, in this bot lane? Or are you thinking Corki into the mid lane?
No. I think the existence of Kai'Sa locks Corki into mid lane.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, when you said
actually,
either way.
you know what? We have seen Kai'Sa mid played.
I have seen it. It could potentially be a Kai'Sa mid. I think Corki makes a lot more sense, especially into the Orianna.
I agree.
I can't believe they did all this changing to Corki, and we've still got Corki Orianna. They just destroyed Azir, so at least we don't have that.
Azir.
Yeah.
Actually, Corki Azir has become interesting now, though, because the new version of Corki isn't just AP, poke you from miles away, delay the game, maybe do something useful with the package. This is a much more engaging, interesting champion to watch.
It is. It's still Corki Azir, though, so, you know, not the most fun that we're going to see.
We'll leave on it until the end of time, but...
Of course, yeah. Jump on into the second round of bans. The brand going to be taken off the board. Not going to be seeing that one into the jungle role again. With the Cassante locked in alongside that Kai'Sa and Corki. You said he's not the AP poker that he used to be. Well, there you go. You've got yourself the Kai'Sa to give you that AP poke as well. And this does really lock Garden Gaming into quite a poke-heavy composition. You want to poke out your opposition as much as possible before you then go flying in with your Cassante. I love the Cassante alongside these two champions. Can work really effectively, especially with an all-out. If you can get somebody into a disadvantageous position, they can get taken out exceptionally fast. Whereas I love whenever I get to see an Alistar Ezreal, that's a great bot lane that can work really well together, but the Alistar Orianna works even better. You can put the ball on top of him, he's a brilliant ball delivery system, and we can look for some just brilliant shockwaves potentially out of Pieball, which would just sort of change the way that you have to play around these fights for Garden Gaming.
A whole bunch of jungle bans coming through. Hellish is going to lose access to Brand. Karthus, Milkshake's much beloved Shinjao is going to be taken away as well. Right now, we already see the top lane, Cassante. I'm going to see what Strato perhaps wants to play into that one, of course. Although that would be leaving jungle to last pick.
Yeah.
We don't see either jungler right now, so potential jungle counter, something we don't see all that often, being prioritized quite heavily by Lazy here.
I've not seen a Twisted Fate for a while. It sort of fell out of favor because it just wasn't really working out. Twisted Fate top lane as well has been pretty rare, but it can do a good amount into the Cassante. The Cassante doesn't really have a way to threaten the TF. He can sit quite far back, have a good time in that lane matchup, and then roam around incredibly effectively. Sejuani going to be locked in here for Garden Gaming, giving themselves a little bit more of a frontline tank. What they're finally going to need is something to sit in that support role, probably alongside the Kai'Sa. I'm not really sure what is left at this point. The Rakan is fine, the Leona is fine. Nautilus is so
classic.
Standard. It's so standard at this point. Ooh, a lot more priority has been going recently towards the Rel, and I think that alongside a Sejuani, I'd prefer that way. Instead, just going to be the Leona. It works pretty well alongside the Kai'Sa. It works okay into the Cal, but I'm not so sure that you want to be the first to aggress. You would prefer to let the Alistar engage first and then have the counter.
This is kind of the lane. It's a mitigation moment because it's whoever engages loses, pretty much. As it is in a lot of tank matchups, to be fair. In support, whoever goes first is the one that will be the one that comes off the worst. And we're waiting for a last pick out of Lazy in Life, and it's going to be the Vi. Another really, really good ball delivery system option in towards this back line. Garden Gaming has built a really, really strong front line, so having ways of getting through that, past that, towards those squishies on the back line is very good. Although, we've also got quite mobile backline for the side of Garden Gaming. Corki can Valkyrie out. Supercharge, once it's evolved, gives that trickiness to MKL with the invisibility. And also, if Lazy Life tried to engage on the back line of Garden Gaming, and the front line of Garden Gaming tried to engage on the back line of Lazy, Suddenly MKL is in the back line of Lazy.
Yeah. It is pretty easy for MKL to just sort of flip the script in that way and just follow the rest of his team with the engage. But Brackish, I feel like at this point I'm a certified Wukong hater, right? You know this, I don't like Wukong. I think I'm getting there towards being a certified Vi hater. I really hope that Milkshake shows us the good version of it in this game, but I have seen so many Vi versus Sejuani matchups recently where the Vi doesn't get anything done in the early game and then is just so much less useful than the Sejuani. The Sejuani can go 0-10 and she will still be a Glacial Prison, she will still be tanky enough. There's no situation in which the Sejuani is completely useless, whereas a Vi who falls even slightly behind is kind of an ult bot, but if you fall enough behind, you can die before the ult even lands. I'm just worried for it in this matchup.
It feels kind of like the Nocturne that we are also not seeing here, that falls behind. You're pretty much just existing to hope that Pieball gets a good shockwave. And that might be all that's needed in this game, but considering what a Vi can do from ahead, it is night and day. But it's going to very much depend on how Milkshake can play this. I do have some confidence, though. We have seen some fantastic Xin Zhao performances, so clearly these more aggressive AD junglers are very much his wheelhouse. But we'll have to leave it on the Rift and find out how he can perform for Lazy in life.
Yeah. I mean, I want to be proven wrong. I love the Vi. Arcane Season 2 coming, I'm so excited. I want the Vi to be awesome. I like playing Vi. I just don't love it at competitive, but if it does pop off right here, I am more than happy to eat my words and to see this one have an absolutely brilliant day. I think either way, it's going to be interesting to see at least.
Absolutely is. We'll be on to the Rift in just a moment's time, but while we're waiting, do you expect anything crazy to happen in these first couple of levels?
I could see some aggressive early plays in the bottom lane, to be honest. I could see one of these two just deciding, hey, I want to get going. Obviously, I don't think it's going to be the Alistar pre-level 3, necessarily. I think you could also wait as Ermin 2 until level 3, but once we hit those level 3s, I think that's when bot lane's going to pop off.
We see our little friend the Stag on the bottom side of the Rift, and we shall join the Rift. Garden Gaming on the blue side, Lazy in Life in the red. We'll see how this one goes down. Also, there is a little bit of invade potential from the side of Garden Gaming. Obviously, just Leona exists.
Yep.
That's kind of what she does.
A little scary.
Right now, I'm seeing a whole bunch of line of scrimmage.
30 seconds until
Everybody sort of just setting themselves up, waiting to potentially step forwards. I really don't think we're going to see any crazy shenanigans during the early levels, to be honest. I think both of these junglers would like to be able to just get their first set of camps going. I'd be really interested to see what they do, where they decide to start themselves off, and where they're going to end up, because I would love to see some sort of 3-camp to gank out of Milkshake. Try to just get going as early as possible, accelerate this game, and make it so that you're forcing Hellish out of the jungle and into these lanes, having to gank. Obviously, Sejuani does gank pretty effectively too, but if you can force her out from farming, you can begin to get the Sejuani falling a little bit behind, and Vi can just play proactively a little bit better.
A late ward put down will spot out that Squidly's going to walk in, get down a ward, one that is mirrored by Pieball here. So these junglers, very unlikely to complete their first clears unnoticed. As is so common for us to see. And this bot lane, it might quite heavily rely, actually, on who hits level 2 first.
Yeah, if you can hit level 2 first... Ermin, already looking to go in. This is what I meant about these bot laners. When a support picks up something aggressive, there's just an itch, right? You just want to go see if you can pick yourself up those early kills. And to be fair, Alistar's not a champion at level 1. He just doesn't give you anything really at all. Well, so if you can hit... Really? You're going to defend Alistar level 1?
In the specific situation when the Leona brings herself to you.
Fine. You are right. In this situation we're seeing right here, potentially, although he ticks the level 2, so that trade is going to go incredibly well, and that is the issue. If we are both level 1, absolutely I get what you're saying. The Leona's brought herself to you, maybe you can turn. But with the Kai'Sa as well. Oof.
Flash from both supports there. Ignite burned onto Tidebringer as well. as aggression is the name of the game in the bottom lane, it would seem.
That
I see what
raid,
Sim was trying to do
jeez.
there. He was trying to basically alley-oop Ermin back into the turret. Ermin,
Yep.
realizing that's the case, will get himself out of dodge. But that's a lot of pots had to be burned by Tidebringer here. And of course, level 2 has been hit now. The Void Seekers are going to start flying through at an ever-increasing cadence.
Yeah, it's just going to be so difficult to play out this matchup once you've already lost so much health. Obviously, with the Ignite going down from Ermin, that's a little bit of pressure relieved, but your jungler isn't nearby despite the fact that your lane's been pushed in so far. It's a really tricky position to be in, and the Acathian range this early on just do so much damage out of MKL. You can really use this early aggressive Kai'Sa very effectively versus the Ezreal. This is sort of the opposite side of the coin. When you first get the kill, as we saw in the previous game on the Ezreal, he can just be so oppressive, but if you lose out in the early trades, especially with an Alistar beside you, it can be really difficult to play these ones out. Hellish is in the area, but there would be a ward spotting him out if he wants to get too aggressive and try to help out his bot lane. See if he can pick them up some early kills. It looks like Ermin is going to look just to go in again in a second anyway.
Yeah, just a tiny bit slower on the clear here from Hellish. Milkshake gonna get his reset, gonna get back out onto the Rift with some extra damage in pocket, and Hellish is sticking around, trying to look for this lane gank. If they can find Sim, then that could be particularly good. Obviously, Tidebringer with the cleanse, with the flash, probably quite safe, but they're going for the cow. Sim is going to be
just
easy
dead.
pickings for first blood. Tidebringer didn't have to burn flash just yet. In fact, Milkshake now coming in. Ermin taking a lot of damage. Milkshake will be able to take that one down. Tidebringer able to get out with a sliver of health remaining. Plasma not procced by MKL. Good read from Milkshake to be able to trade that one back.
Yeah, and came back into that lane having already based. Oh, Strato so close to dying right there. Obviously does have the gold card as a little bit of extra protection. But yeah, because of that quicker clear out of Milkshake, was able to get back to base, come back with those double longswords. So does a lot of damage at this point. This is what a Vi can do early on. Sim, though, has taken that death and headed straight back up towards the top side. Ermin reading it really well is also going to be here. Can they?
Looking for
oh,
the
they can go
potential
in.
engage. No 6 for Uzol, though, which means the chase down, not really possible.
Instead, both of these supports are just going to have to wander their way back down into their bot lane. Sim can obviously try to get a gank onto Squidly here.
Ermin's chasing, though. Once again, we'll be able to get the knock up. I'm just going to have to walk this one out. Milkshake spots out that there are some camps potentially stealable, while Hellish is taking his own top side. In fact, Sim and Ermin, they're just marking each other constantly throughout this early game. Ermin might try and disrupt this take on the chickens. MKL having to come up out of the bot lane. His wave isn't in the best state, so going to have to leave Tidebringer alone in the bot lane for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. Obviously, we've got the Euros on at the moment. This is what's called man marking, where you have another player that is your man, and you just follow them around the map. And it feels like that's what Merman is doing right now. Is just, he's been assigned Sim, and you're just going to follow Sim all around the map. It's working pretty well right now. A lot of potential good ganks out of Sim have been dissuaded. There was a big push going on for Uzol in the top lane, a big push going on for Squidly in the mid lane. Both of those left them pretty open to being ganked right there by this Alistar. Instead, because Ermin is there, all of those are dissuaded. And sure, you lose some chickens, but still you're going to be able to move down to the bottom side, pick yourself up a Hextech Drake, the best one to get an individual of. You're trading it over for the grubs, but I think you're going to be pretty happy with this early set of plays out of Ermin. He's played this one very aggressively on the Leona, and so far it's worked out pretty dang well.
Yeah, a good start for the side of Garden Gaming. They are a tiny bit up. Garden Gaming are a tiny bit up right. Wait, hang on. This is confusing me. The top bar is wrong. Production. I'm being confuddled. Garden Gaming are actually a tiny bit behind in gold, if this is being read correctly. But they are matching the early plays pretty well. First set of grubs will be picked up by Milkshake here.
Yep. Traded
a little bit of
though.
an invade coming through because they know where the Vi is. And of course, it'll be just traded in kind.
And you can really see through all of the vision down in the bottom side right now where that pressure is. Uzol is getting pretty aggressive onto Strato right now. Milkshake could potentially try to gank here. Is spotted out. You know, you are aware as Uzol where this is. Whereas we've got 4 members for a dive bot lane.
Tidebringer immediately locked up. The Ezreal not got a chance to get out. Hellish will be the price that is paid. Ermin may well drop also. 2 traded back for 2. Lazy. They certainly weren't resting on their laurels as that dive happened. They will trade back. It is still going to be an advantaged play for the side of Garden Gaming, but they took their pound of flesh.
Yeah, they were able to at least pick something back up. The dive not going to be as clean as you would have potentially wanted. Nobody has been able to get themselves that first item yet. We're only 8 minutes into the game. It feels like we're further in. This one has been incredibly action-packed, even though it's only 6 kills so far. It's just been a lot of movement around from these supports. You can see once again, every single time one of these supports goes back, they end up roaming around and trying to get to their lane through a different path, trying to put pressure down everywhere.
Already forced the ghost out of
Solo.
Strato here.
Wow.
He doesn't give a damn as he will find himself the solo kill on the Twisted Fate. Still got plenty of chance of doing more on the map later. But not looking too hot right now.
No, I said that it was a pretty good lane matchup for the Twisted Fate as well. That was a good land.
The Zenith Blade will chase the whole way. The flash out of Mikkel as well
Hellish is here.
to ensure that Sim can do nothing to save his carry there. The TF ult comes out, but it's just to go back to top lane. He has no TP to use. It is enough to dissuade further aggression out of Garden Gaming though, but this bot lane is starting to open up. MKL, we wanted something that little bit more aggressive, and he's showing it up.
I really did not expect that Zenith Blade to land, but Ermin right on the very edge of the hitbox right there. He's able to pick up Tidebringer, and that's the joy of the Leona into the Ezreal matchup. If you can land the Zenith Blade, you're going to follow him. You can go follow along and pick up kills for your team. And we're just seeing so much proactivity out of this bot lane, super explosive right now. And it just doesn't feel like either of the junglers are quite able to keep up. Milkshake, Hellish, they're sort of being pulled around the map right now, trying to get involved in these lanes as best as possible. It's working out slightly better for Hellish right now. He's been involved in 3 at least and is getting things going for the bot lane. Whereas Milkshake has been around to sort of try to dissuade some plays, but other than stealing away a couple of camps, and does have a decent gold lead, a decent CS lead, hasn't been able to get those
Hellish.
kills.
No flash, no ghost. The Twisted Fate is being fully exposed in this game. Another kill will be given across. Hellish will take this one. Grub's coming up in a moment's time as well. They can easily deny the Hexa Grub away from the side of Lazy. And Milkshake is towards the bot side right now, but there's no one to gank.
Nope. Nobody in this area sort of whatsoever. I guess you could potentially dive onto Squidly. I think Squidly going to recognize that one as well. Back off in this situation. Going to give over a couple of turret plates as well, but that's better than giving over your life and those turret plates. It's being traded back in the top lane as well. Uzo is having an absolute monster of a game right now. Hellish helping out. Just going to stick around in the area, potentially looking to kill on Strato again.
He will spot it out. Smelled that something was wrong, but there's no way he can get back to his own turret right now. Will land a stun. Milkshake now being called up to try and help, but MKL can roam up from the mid lane. Another engage comes through. Milkshake might be the deciding factor here, but Strato, not all that tanky, is going to try and get away. Will fall down, however, as Pieball comes in to do the damage as well. Milkshake is just locking them down. The Vi can chunk through these carries. MKL is just about able to take it down, but here comes Sim, and the cow's got something to say. But after 10 minutes of a rough bot lane, the Kaiser will drop as well. Lazy in Life, they respond really well to the top lane play.
Yeah, they managed to finally roam up enough members to pick up those, but still, they're losing out on the tempo. Sure, you managed to get up there and kill MKL, eventually decent little shutdown, but you lose quite a lot to MKL already. Has now got that Kraken Slayer completed, a pickaxe as well, dagger, you know, getting quite far towards that second item already, whereas you've only just managed to scrape together that first one as Tidebringer. I think MKL's going to be pretty happy with the way that that one worked out. We're once again going to see the push between Squidly and Tidebringer in the bottom lane, and we're potentially going to see another brawl around this second set of grubs. Obviously, the first set went over to Lazy.
Sim, just about able to get away, does have the Unbreakable Will up and available, but Garden Gaming will pull the trigger on that second set of grubs. They know where Milkshake is as well right now. In fact, Ermin is there effectively body blocking. Lazy in Life not going to be able to respond, and more importantly, they're on the wrong side of the rift to trade it for a Drake.
Yeah, they are. It is just going to be 3 for 3 on these grubs. Now we could potentially see another brawl around this Drake as... feel like Squidly is a little bit in the wrong place. Just gonna hop over this wall.
Valkyrie exists.
Still getting forced out from this Drake, sort of giving up quite a lot of position, having to take a long way around to get back to this bottom lane, is just giving a little bit more tempo over to Lazy, something that Garden Gaming have been so good already in this game at trying to take it away. Didn't go in, didn't want
Hovering.
MKO.
Do Garden Gaming know what's going on? I want to say no. Hellish plus the bot lane. All linked up. Sim looking for the angle in, and there is the Destiny straight onto MKL. Just as the Kai'Sa is getting big. That's 2 deaths back to back in a couple of moments. The Twisted Fate exploding into value. They are now going to send Piebald top lane. But there's Strato getting engaged on in kind. Just as I'm praising him. That's the caster curse for real.
Yep, just going to go out. Looks like Sim and Tidebringer still looking to get back into this middle lane, at least keep the tower alive. And that was a crazy set of plays right there. What a combo it was to just take out MKL. Wasn't able to press anything, really. Didn't have the flash available. Perhaps that would have been enough to be able to save his life. Still, though, if you can get that combo going every single time and stop MKL from being able to play these fights, that's the way that this one just goes wrong, unfortunately, for Garden Gaming. But then we see the return kill, another one onto Strato, 0, 4, and 2. Just hasn't been having the best time of it.
He has not. Did manage to set up that kill onto MKL, which I will still praise, but does need to tighten up the gameplay a little bit. He is giving up quite a lot of gold to the side of Garden Gaming right now. And we can see that the gold has shifted across. It is now in Garden Gaming's favor. It's only 500 or so in it, but with the tower being taken down now by Uzol, that will grow up to around 1.5k gold.
Yeah.
Next thing to fight over, Shelly has joined us.
Indeed, she has. It looks like the priority is going to go over to Garden Gaming, heading straight on up to Shelly. Want to pick her up as quickly as possible, perhaps. Yeah, we are going to see Hellish sort of moving up towards that area, but there will be a response. Both of these teams have a decent amount of members in the area, and everybody who's in the bottom lane has a TP on the way.
I'm not feeling great about your living chances here. The Corki locked up and should be given across. Shut down as well. Lazy in Life recognize Strato is struggling. And they will give him across that kill. Should be a nice easy start on towards the Herald as well. No mid lane to be able to contest the play. No TP on him either. That said, there are a couple of members stepping into the rover, just seeing maybe if Lazy get a little bit careless with their positioning.
Yeah, you've always got the potential hard engage that you can pull out instead. Uzol just going to bully away this tower from Piebald. Just is not able to step up in this situation. Forced away pretty effectively, and that's going to be a good injection of gold right there for Garden Gaming, keeping themselves in the lead only just at this point. And it has been a really effective sort of late mid-game out of Milkshake. That was just really well played. Couple of ganks, picking up a lot of kills. Now has that Sundered Sky as well, so it's going to survive in these engages for a lot longer. And with that +2 longswords, is going to be in a really nice position to just try to 100-0 someone, especially if you can work in tandem with someone else.
Bodying out Squidly from the top side, making sure that Strato has the freedom to take down that top lane turret. But now Milkshake might be in some trouble as Hellish is looking to zero on in. Glacial Prison does not land. They're able to dodge it away. The slows can now come through. Permafrost stacking up. One more auto would do it. Not quite able to land. Milkshake able to get away. As you said, has done some great work picking up some extra objectives for Lazy in Life. Gold still tantalizingly close. 1 Drake apiece, 3 Grubs apiece. 1 tower advantage of Garden Gaming. It's not going to make that huge of a difference. that is a Destiny.
Aggressive. That's an aggressive Destiny out of the Strata right there. So really hasn't had the best game so far. Has tried to be proactive. Managed to get 1 good proactive play alongside Piebald, but for the most part just hasn't quite been able to get this TF working. Still is going to keep trying to get aggressive. Perhaps you can try to get onto Uzol right here alongside Milkshake.
Looking for it, but all out is used. Strato still trying to find the gold card. The flash will ensure that he is not able to be locked down.
Perhaps could have used the Destiny right there to try chase.
Yeah, with the body's committed towards the top side, you can see. Squidly going to be able to shove in that bot lane. alongside Ermin might be able to steal away a camp or two, or just again have that vision down so Lazy are on notice, are having to be a little more considerate of how they move around the map.
As we are going to see a potential another fight between Strato and
Oh,
Uzol
dear.
right here. I think Strato might just, I was going to say be dead again, but with the ghost pops, just going to be able to run that one away. Still, going to have to go back to base once again. Obviously doesn't have the Destiny up to try to join in this potential fight down in this bottom side. Drake spawning in 20 seconds time, and a good position on it right now for Lazy.
With the Cloud Soul, it is this game. Milkshake potentially looking for an angle. Hellish is going to be the one taking a lot of damage. You got a lot of help, but you need bodies to join. Uzol has TP'd in on the flank though. Tidebringer late to the play. Milkshake will be able to take this one down, but the rest of the fight doesn't look to be going all that well for Lazy. Sim has to flash out. Tidebringer cleansing, using the blast cone to try and escape. Ends up being a 1-for-1. The jungler of Garden Gaming being down means quite a lot though. Milkshake can just wander in and take
they're
away
just
the
gonna
Drake
go
if he
mid.
so pleases.
Instead, it looks like Lazy, they're just going to head mid, try to get down this tower. They're also
Okay.
going to pick up a mill.
They do. Squidly coming in from the side, trying to make it happen. Flashes out after taking down Milkshake, and that's a jungler down. So Lazy now can't start up the Drake safely.
This one has been crazy back and forth. Hellish has obviously been able to respawn in the time that all of this is happening. The posturing still going on right now. We can see Pybo headed up towards the top lane. Does have the TP to try to rejoin potentially. This fight just does not want to end quite yet. It looks like Lazy, though, they may have exhausted all of their abilities. There's a lot of summoner spells and ultimates no longer available, and so they're just going to have to concede over this Drake. Perhaps over-aggressive trying to go for that mid lane play. They don't even pick up the mid lane tower, go 1-for-1 in terms of kills for it, and then lose the Drake.
Garden Gaming will indeed pick up their second Drake. Again, we're still looking at a very, very close game. A little bit of over-aggression from Lazy, I do agree. We're now settling back into the status quo a little bit. We've got
Oh, bot
Baron
lane.
coming up. Destiny
They wanted
does
it.
not find Squidly.
No, they really, really wanted it, though. Milkshake and Strato is a great combo to be able to just take down whatever is in front of you. A load of
you're
lockdown
on the
between the
first
gold
CC.
tide. Yeah, you got to get there, though. And there's a lot of mobility on the opposition. That being said, MKO Ermin, it looks like they're going to get Dove in a second, potentially. Milkshake is also watching Hellish right now, though.
Stole away the red buff as well. Cheeky, cheeky.
Gets out, too.
Will be able to get away with his ill-gotten gains also.
Now once more, just gonna head back in. Hellish forced to smite away onto that chicken. That is the job of a Vi, to just be as annoying as possible. So much mobility on this champion to be able to step up, try to steal away camps, and then get out. Obviously, we do have the Baron spawned about 30 seconds ago. We're still not that far into this game. Mid lane tower on its last legs right now, and it looks like Lazy would really like to pick this one up. As it is, though, just Sim trying to pick it up, and yeah, the Alistar doesn't really do enough damage right now. Feels like Squidly's been pretty quiet in this game, despite the fact that he's 3-1 and 2. You know, just hasn't been that main carry so far. That was nearly a steal away.
It was a closer steal than it perhaps needed to be, but
Could
they will
have
be able to
been
pick
worse.
that up. And they're still completely neck and neck. Uzol continuing to shove in these waves. Strato has completed the second item now, so is starting to become a little bit scary. Squidly was targeted, but Sim not able to combo properly. They're trying to find
Tidebringer's just dead? Wow.
Squidly will drop it down. Sim, doesn't matter if you have the unbreakable will, you will still be broken. Pybel now coming in looking for the angle. That's a great shockwave on 2-2. Squidly will be the price that is paid as they're trying to play it back. Still a 3v4 as Uzol comes in. Milkshake going to be able to escape to the side. Strato lands the stun onto MKL. Will land the double kill as well. Traded back those. Milkshake now looking for the
over aggressive from Milkshake.
Ermin not going to be able to find it. He's tanky, but not tanky enough. Uzol for a second considers looking for Pieball, then thinks better of it as once again Garden Gaming just barely come out ahead.
These fights are going really, really long, and it just shows that Garden Gaming are a little bit tankier. They're able to survive for just that bit longer with a Cassante, with a Sejuani. I mean, the Sejuani
I got
hasn't
two words
yet...
for you.
Yeah, go on.
Warmog's armor.
Yes.
Complete on Sejuani,
Exactly.
completed on Leona.
you just live forever in these fights. It's been pretty tricky so far for Hellish to actually be able to get in and out long enough to be able to regen. Obviously, just using the health. Now has a Zeke's as well to just live for even longer. But Ermin actually has been very good at weaving in and out of these fights long enough to just get a little bit of extra health back, then get back into these fights and keep being annoying as any good Leona should be. And it's just working out a little bit better right here for Garden Gaming. They're still just so even on gold. It's barely 800 between them. So we can see individually where these gold leads are. And yeah, MKL is still definitely winning out on this fight between Tidebringer. When we look the other way, though, there's a pretty decent lead in the jungle right here for Milkshake. Milkshake does crazy damage, and with that Sundered Sky, lives for a huge amount of time in these long fights too, with all of the healing you get off of first hitting champions.
On the opposite side of that, still, Uzol having a fantastic game in spite of the Twisted Fate passive. Doing well. Tidebringer having to flash over the wall to escape. TP coming through as well. Hellish still looking for the angle in. Sim and Milkshake kind of spread out. 5 members of Garden Gaming, though, they're not able to find their engage. Just be able to push a wave in. 50 seconds until the next Drake comes up. So once again, it's all about vision. It's all about positioning. Squidly's got a TP, so could finish an item, but it looks like he's quite a way off the next one.
Yeah, not going to be able to do that quite yet. As we take a look through at the items, nothing really out of the ordinary. A lot of armor right now onto Uzol. Really hasn't specced into any magic resist. Obviously, when it's only going to be that Orianna as your big magic threat, makes a lot of sense right here. But that does mean that Piebald could potentially be a pretty big threat to this Cassante, at least until this next bit of armor comes through. I think it is going to be a Jack show next, so, you know, trying
Definitely.
to get a little bit
Lazy,
of
though.
that magic.
Getting a bit cheeky. They're going to
Nah,
just go,
can't do
hey,
it.
are you paying attention, Garden Gaming? Turns out they were.
Yes.
I really do like it when teams do this, though. Just going, hey, are you paying attention right now?
Yeah, always a chance that you're not, as we saw 2 different potential engages going on right there. Sim went in, Milkshake, gonna get caught though.
Milkshake. You
Just
might
dead.
be tanky, but not tanky enough to withstand a full 5 members. That's a great shockwave again, but the follow-up damage isn't there. Piebald drops to MKL. Sim is tanking up so much with the Unbreakable Will. Garden Gaming, they managed to break open the tower. Lazy. They were down a member. Stratos still pushing in the top lane right now. Hasn't been able to get a tower. Now it's Garden Gaming with a dead jungler on the opposite side who can start this one up. They know where Strato is. He's going to pop the Destiny. Just so that they're aware of what's going on. Where's the gate going down? Towards the Drake. They are giving this one up.
Yep. They just have to concede this one. You're really not going to be able to steal it away. The thing for Lazy right here is that you have to have the combo between Milkshake and Piebald. If you don't have that nice shockwave on top of the Vi, she doesn't live long enough to do any damage. You said tanky, which I think is slightly the wrong word. She's not tanky, she heals a ton. If you can just catch her out, she does not survive the full force of Garden Gaming even slightly. We saw it in that fight, just got caught out. Unfortunately, the amount of damage that you can do between a Corki and a Kai'Sa works so well. And I just prefer the composition that Garden Gaming have for themselves. I think having these 2 champions, plus the beefiest frontline you could possibly have drafted, just works so well. And we can see it in all of these fights. Unless you do get that perfect wombo combo between Milkshake and Piebald, it just doesn't work out right here for Lazy.
As you're saying, Max, that's basically the difference between a bruiser, as we see in the Vi, and a tank, as we see in the Sejuani. If you are able to, pick your fights, and you're able to actually act in those fights, sure, you're going to have a lot of health from that Sundered Sky. If not, you are going to get melted, as we saw in that previous fight. Garden Gaming currently shoving on in. Unbreakable Will burned very early. Strato was channeling a recoil, but ends up cancelling it. Now just going to walk to mid lane to counteract Uzol, who is pushing on in. And the wave comes through. There should be enough minions here to take this one down. Hellish just there in case Lazy in Life try anything a little bit towards his top laner.
Indeed, and something just to remember in this game right now is that Lazy have to play in our next matchup as well. So losing a game like this could potentially harm their mental for the next one. Obviously, we'll talk more about that once we get into the pre-game, but it's just something to keep in mind that this is not their only official match of the night right now. As Garden Gaming pushed them in, have now taken all but the top lane inner. trying to push these towers through. TP gonna come through out of Uzol. He just wants to get this one down and make sure that Lazy and Life cannot step out of their base. They want to be in the smallest possible cage right now, as Garden Gaming seem to just keep pushing on forwards, trying to squeeze the life right here out of Lazy.
Milkshake's arrived at the top lane to counteract Uzol's push, but Garden Gaming just naturally going to be the ones who have the license to move first. Tidebringer not really going to do all that much damage to Ermin, but if they're able to fully engage, the Leona might be a viable target. Milkshake doing some good damage, but again will drop. Ermin able to step away, looks for angle back in actually as Strato gonna land the stun. MKL dropping low alongside Pieball is able to do the work, but on the other side of the fight, Garden Gaming diving the Nexus inhibitor turrets rather. Strato tries to get onto Squiggly. Not quite going to be able to manage it. Gets taken down as well. And the base shall be broken open. Garden Gaming will be able to secure the top lane inhibitor. They feel like they can get more here.
They don't have any Baron buff, so I really hope they're going to turn around and run away right now. Yeah, there we go. It looks like Garden Gaming, they're not going to over-aggress in this situation. Fascinating little fight that we saw. Obviously, it works out incredibly well for Garden Gaming. They get so many objectives. Is that all they really want at this point? But it was really interesting seeing Ermin go in, despite the fact he had maybe 6 HP left. Just still wanted to go play, wanted to fight, try to keep his AD carry alive. It's the instinct you really want out of your support. I love that one. Perhaps could wait a little bit longer, try to get that health back to keep the play going. Either way, it works out for Garden Gaming. They don't have to be the cleanest team, just the way that they play out these fights. They thrive in the chaos. They're not going to mind these fights being a little bit more messy. But we are going to see the next Drake spawning up in just about a minute's time. 2 minutes onto the next Baron. I think you're going to need the Baron as this composition to be able to actually push into the base and take the game. Unless, of course, you won a massive team fight. Just because there is some pretty good wave clear on the side of Lazy. And you don't really have that long range push for Garden Gaming that you need to siege without the Baron.
I say a minute until the next Drake. 2 minutes until Baron rejoins us on the Rift. Garden Gaming, though, again, they just want to continue that chokehold. They have broken into the base. That is one wave of minions that constantly has to be answers. And right now, it's Tidebringer who's answering it, which means that if a Drake fight should happen, Ezreal is a very long way away. Only a True Shot Barrage to be able to influence. Really want to see them send Pieball up there instead, just so that the TP is available to join the play. But I mean, there's still a wall of darkness that they have to walk across to get to the Drake.
Yeah, there really is. It's definitely a scary situation to be in. So you can see the push going to be coming through. Tidebringer does also take a Void Seeker to the face, which isn't going to be ideal. Does a decent amount of damage. Sim.
It takes some damage, but he hits the Unbreakable Will, and it's going to be nigh impossible to kill. Pieball drops the damage down. MKL gets detonated. Hylish looking for the angle back in. Uzol is able to go on to kill spree, but these health bars are dropping lower and lower. There is Milkshake coming in as well. Squidly will drop. Hellish needs to get out. There's no chance of it, though, as Uzol trying to flash away, trying to disrupt. Ermin might be the only survivor of this. Uzol does so much damage, but not enough damage as they falter on the steps of the base of Lazy in Live. Strato looks for the potential chase, not quite going to find it. That is going to be a Drake picked up. Lazy in Life, they're still breathing.
They are, and like you said, Sim, once he popped that Unbreakable Will, really was just unkillable, was able to sit in that fight for so long, got multiple multi-man knockups in that fight, got one with 4 whole members, and one of the key points was that the engage happened before Milkshake was there, so Milkshake could get into the backline, survive, wasn't that main focus down target, and then once you've got a Vi in the backline, you've got a lot of problems for yourself. I really like the way that that team fight played out. Obviously, you still lose a ton of health onto your Nexus turret, lose a couple of kills as well, and the amount of damage that Uzol does is increasingly worrying. Still, you're going to be very happy to have at least picked yourself up a bit of a team fight win, get yourself the much needed injection of gold.
Strato,
it goes short.
QSS.
Oh, okay.
QSS
Okay, I was going to say.
Huge there. That would have been a very dead TF had he stuck around any longer. Baron back onto the Rift as well. That would have been a second given across to Garden Gaming, almost inevitably.
Yeah.
Had that come to pass.
Instead,
and we join the dance once again, Bloxer.
Yeah. This game has been crazy back and forth. Garden Gaming have felt like they've been in a pretty good spot from the beginning, but never in such a controlled position. that this game has been assured, not like the previous game. The previous game felt a lot more one-sided than this one has. Lazy, they're still fighting back. They still have angles to get into this one, which I am genuinely surprised by. When I said I don't like the Vi, this is the point at which the Vi usually begins to fall off, but still, Milkshake has been finding some great angles with it. Really impressed with the way that he's played this one out so far, and if you can get that wombo combo going again, Pieball, Milkshake together, Tidebringer now is dealing enough damage, has also got the LDR completed to actually be able to get through some of these tanks and make these fights playable.
The next couple of minutes are going to be crucial. Sim can step forward. Again, if he feels in danger, he can just prop the Unbreakable Will. And it's not going to be that much of an issue. Destiny has been popped there by Strato. Sim still taking all of the damage. The TF will now join the fight as the stuns come forwards. Garden Gaming looking for their angle in. But Lazy and Life, they're staying grouped up. Ermin dropping super low. He can step away. He can wait for that Warmog's regeneration.
There it is.
And look at that, just like that, he's going to be right back at full.
Yeah, it looked like Garden Gaming had taken significantly more damage in that fight, but it doesn't stick, not like it has to Lazy. The members of Lazy who are low are still low. Hellish going in again. Where's the angle? Where's the angle? Without the ults, it's really hard right now for you to actually find that engage. They've got priority towards the Baron, though, and some low health bars on the opposition. I think Garden Gaming are going to be pretty happy with this one.
Can they find the fight they want, though? Strato looking forward.
Gold
Lands
card.
the stun on MKL. He goes golden for a moment. I don't think he's going to survive any longer, though.
Oh, he does.
Killer Instinct actually gets him out. Squidly is going to be able to take down Milkshake as well. Strato on the run. Tidebringer and Pieball completely on the wrong side of the rift. And it looked good for a second Bloxer. But Garden Gaming, they ain't messing around. They get their rakes and they clean up.
They do indeed. What a fight right there. That's going to win them the game. Can just push on forwards. 30 seconds until anybody's going to be back available. And the key point was MKL lived. Just having that arm guard, being able to go golden was everything in that fight. The previous fight's gone wrong because MKL went down. Second, the Kaiser lives. The over-aggression, unfortunately, out of Lazy in Life, it doesn't work out. And they are going to drop to 3-2.
Garden Gaming will jump above them in the standings, going up to 4-2 alongside Rich Gang. Well, Lazy definitely made them work for it.
Yeah.
But as you say, as soon as that arm guard gets picked up by MKL, he's able to pick the moment the moment at which he lives or dies.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Today, the coin came up lives. The Emperor held his thumb aloft. Actually, there's still some historical debate as to whether that was actually die or live. They're not entirely sure. In Gladiator, it was
Really?
yes, he lives, but we don't actually know.
Huh.
It's all been debated.
That is
History.
fascinating. History
go.
is wild.
Little Brackfat for you there. We are going to have an interview coming in just a couple of moments' time. We're going to step away, take a breather, get a drink, and you should do the same before we are back for more NLC action in just a few minutes' time. And we are back as we welcome in Hellish after that Garden Gaming win. Welcome. Good.
Thank you.
Not the cleanest of wins, perhaps.
Yeah, no, like perhaps we underestimated today's opponents a little bit. They didn't play that bad, but like it doesn't matter. My Sejuani pulls through. There's like no one in this league that plays Sejuani like me.
I love it. I mean, the Sejuani looked like it was working out really well for you guys. Were you pretty set on playing the Sejuani in this game, or were there a couple of other options you were looking at? Into the Vi, is that sort of your preferred pickup?
No, I'm like begging my coach to stop picking me Sejuani, but it's like I don't have much
He's
say.
Yankost.
Yeah, I'm
He's
just
2019
I just want like
Yankost.
Hecarim, Evelyn, like
Mm.
Cartus, and then they just lock in Sejuani, but maybe it's for the better, I don't know.
It seems to work
Well,
out for you guys pretty well.
we hope that we get to see you on the Hecarim later. I think that'd be a
Yeah,
good amount of fun.
the Twitch
We watched the
jungle,
lock-in
it's
for
coming
that.
out. I'm dropping it right now.
Twitch
Other teams
jungle?
better ban it.
Oh, look at that. We're having some strats leaked right here live, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally
exactly.
legit.
Oh, man. I mean, to be fair, although it would be a lot of fun to get to see the Twitch, the Sejuani did look really good. How were you guys feeling once you got to about the 20-minute mark into this game? You had a little bit of a gold lead. It was only about 1,000 at this point. Your bot lane was sort of popping off. Your top lane was going okay. But the team fight seemed to be a little bit tricky to execute. What was that like?
Yeah, we had no idea how we're losing team fights. We were just saying like how are we losing? Like let's just stop griefing and then it should be fine. And then we like didn't grief and we 5-4-0 them. So it's good to make like plans ahead. Don't grief the team fight.
Sometimes don't lose is all you need to win.
Exactly, bro.
So positionally, you're obviously sitting quite comfortably in the top half of the standings right now, 4-2. Obviously, I asked this previous question. I'm probably going to ask everyone this question today. Is as you're coming to the end of the first round robin, where do you feel you sit power-wise amongst the squads?
Well, we're just the best. It's just that simple. There is no one competing with us, and the only time we lose to ourselves. So yeah, the only team I'm like somewhat respectful of is Rich Gang because they have a really good jungler. So that's the only team I'm nervous about. The rest of them, not so much.
Hey, wouldn't you look at that? Shouting out Slice, who we had on for the last
Yeah,
interview.
shout out.
Speaking of shout outs, do you want to shout out anyone else before we let you go?
Yeah, going with the tradition of my top laner of shouting out artists, I want to shout out Bobby Shmurda.
Fair. Alrighty then. Thank you so much, Hellish, for coming on
Yes,
through
thank you
for the
guys.
interview. We'll let you go. And of course, we'll pop it to another quick break. But when we return, we will be back with yet another game as Fourth Wall have their second game of the day playing against Lazy and Life, who of course just did drop down their game. So we'll see how that one goes in a few minutes' time. We are back once again. Game number 3 coming on up very soon. We've got Fourth Wall going up against Lazy in Life. Both played earlier today, both lost, unfortunately, but now we get to see how they go up against each other. Bloxer, who have you got your eye on?
I think I want to see Milkshake again. Potentially on something other than the Vi, but I'm perfectly happy with the Vi again because I think they were a
He did good
real
work.
bright spark. Yeah, that game was pretty dang good out of Milkshake. I really liked a lot of what they were laying down. They were proactive, they were aggressive, especially their kind of 13 to 20 minutes was really solid. They were all over the map, getting a lot of kills, putting down a lot of pressure, and were kind of the only reason that their team were winning out the fights when they were winning them out, you know? We just spoke, obviously, to Hellish, and they're like, how on earth were the fights not going in our favour? I think Milkshake was the answer. Milkshake was playing those fights out really well. Unfortunately, wasn't quite enough. Garden Gaming were able to come out on top of that one, obviously. But especially up against Bash, who I think had a bit of an off game, I'm going to be really excited to see that matchup.
Definitely. Bash, I mean, obviously kind of, I don't want to say got exposed, but Slice was, took the 30 seconds to go on UGG and find out that Gwen's apparently good into Brand, and had a very good time of so doing. Milkshake, though, we haven't seen much of the AP junglers out of him, very much preferring the Xinjiao, preferring the Jarvan, preferring the Vi. And so that does leave the door open, perhaps, a little bit more to Bash being a little bit more comfortable or a little bit more free to test the limits a little bit more on his AP champions.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, beyond just looking at this matchup between these two junglers, Strato just did not have a good game in that previous one.
It wasn't it. Yeah.
It didn't happen for him, unfortunately, and I don't think that's necessarily a reflection on the player. I don't love the pick in that situation at all. So I'm going to be really interested to see Strato hopefully on something other than the TF, or if it is another TF game, a TF game where the composition works a little bit better around it, and then actually be able to show off what he's made of, what he can actually do in these fights, because it just wasn't working out for him, unfortunately, in that one.
Looking through the draft that we see thus far, Orianna taken away from Piebald seems like a fairly reasonable thing to do. Tidebringer's Seraphine also hitting the ban bench, not a surprise at all. Obviously, we can look at Skarner, we can look at Rumble as potential extra bans, or look to ban Bash away a little bit, taking out the Lilia.
Yeah, potentially. Also, I'm going to be interested to see if the Ezreal is going to be allowed through again. It has basically just been the Ezreal and the Seraphine picked up by Tidebringer at this point. If he continues on that train, it will make him a little bit easier to ban out, you know, if we get further on into this tournament and he keeps going well. The Skarner is going to be that final ban away. You really can't leave that one open as Garden Gaming. That does mean that the Corki is still available. Fourth Wall don't go for it. Instead, they are going to pick themselves up the Talia. Leaving open the Corki is a real risk. That pick is so strong. We saw how good it was in the previous game.
Here, right?
Yeah, and I love that as a combo for them. The amount of poke that you have with that combo is crazy.
Yeah, so they prioritized the Talia here. Could be for Bash, could be for Wantage. I certainly think that's more of a Bash champion, although Talia jungle has been a little bit less present than before. As we expect, locked in again for Tidebringer. Had a fine showing of it last time around. Obviously, Lazy in Life are looking to not repeat perhaps some of the mistakes of games past. See what this gets paired up with. Could just lock in your bot lane or wait for R3 to do that. Milkshake wants the Vi again. I don't hate it.
Oh, no, quick flick over to the Alistair instead. I mean, I think the bot lane was fine.
Something I actually noted, the previous game draft from Lazy in Life was pretty much identical to one of their previous games, one of their wins up against Ruza, where the difference was Strato played Gnar as opposed to the TF.
I'd be happy with
Apart
the
from
Gnar.
that, rest of the comp was identical. This time around, obviously, it can't happen because the Orianna's been taken away. But it seems like perhaps we're looking a little bit at what Lazy in Life's comfort is when you can't have the Seraphine.
And instead, we are going to see the Kai'Sa picked up again. We saw how good that was previously. Vardag's going to grab this one. Gritten on the Nautilus too. I like that combo. It can be super aggressive. I think, to be honest, the Leona works a little bit better into the Alistair, but the Nautilus is going to be fine as well. And with the pickup of the Cassante for Strato, I love that so much more. There we go. That's the kind of top laner I want to be seeing Strato on.
It's back to something simple but highly effective. I mean, I wouldn't have hated to see the Gnar if he'd been given counter pick.
Yeah.
Like the specific matchup were good. But in this situation, you can hold up, give Milkshake a good jungler, potentially set up Pieball for a winning mid lane matchup as well. So why wouldn't you just lock in something safe for the top lane?
Absolutely, as we are going to see the Camille taken off of the board. We're now likely going to see some top lane bans out of Garden Gaming. Fourth wall, they are finally going to take the Corki off. I am genuinely shocked that we have seen 6 champions picked in this game and none of them were the Corki. I mean, I get why it can feel a little bit risky to pick up. If you can get something hyper-aggressive on top of the Corki, he's no longer able to sit quite as far back and just poke and survive as long as you used to be able to. Still, though, the Corki just can lay down such a ridiculous amount of damage. We saw it in the previous game where, you know, the mid lane won't do too much, and then all of a sudden you get into these team fights and you're just, yeah, dealing 30,000 damage in the course of 2-3 team fights. Pretty insane the way that this Corki can work out.
Lazy just really good at missing bans.
Yeah. I guess. Okay. Fair enough. They don't need him, I think is what they're saying. They don't need to take that 4th ban. Instead, just going to leave that one open. 4th wall, I reckon they will probably take their final ban. Are going to take the Ahri off of the board. It was hovered earlier on as a potential pickup. If it was into the Talia, I think the Ahri has a pretty nice time into the Talia. You're just pretty effective at getting away from her early on. Obviously, once you do get that level 6, it becomes a lot harder to actually play into the Talia because of those stones across the ground. It just makes it that much harder. That... Really? Okay, I would have been very surprised
We're
by the
thinking about their
there.
options right now. We won't comment on it until it happens. Belveth will be locked in for Milkshake. A lot of onus on that champion to get things done. It's certainly not as survivable as the Vi unless you play it very, very well. Like,
Yeah.
if you can use Royal Maelstrom to its fullest, of course, you can absorb a heck of a lot of damage, but
Yeah.
it's not the easiest thing to execute. Right now,
No.
Edabury looking potentially for options from the top lane and lays down the gauntlet, the whole hand of Noxus being thrown down in front of Strato here, and with a decent amount of dashes available for the side of Lazy and Life, I'm certainly not upset to see a Poppy locked in for Bash.
No, alongside the Talia, that means that dashing in any of these team fights is going to be incredibly
bueno.
risky. Yeah,
Not
just
good.
don't. It's going to stop a lot of what Sim wants to do, especially. Makes it very tricky to play this Alistair. The final lock-in will be that Veigar. I mean, that also does stop a
denial.
lot of the engages too. You stop Grizzon a lot. I think both of these supports are going to have a really tricky time once we get into these actual team fights for playing this one out. But what fascinating compositions. This is very different to what we've been seeing from, you know, the standard meta of pro play at the moment.
Gotta remember as well, Vardags is going to have to be a little bit careful in later game team fights because Killer Instinct is not a blink. It is a very fast dash. If you go into Event Horizon with the Killer Instinct, you are going to die.
Yes.
Very swiftly.
I mean, that's sort of the ideal play, right, for Pieball. If the Kaiser that you're looking for just sort of flies into your baby cage, that's exactly what you're hoping to happen. Obviously, as Vardags, trust in this player to hopefully not end up doing that. Still, though, fascinating with these compositions. And I'm really interested to see what actually ends up happening between these junglers. Like we said, that's sort of the lanes that we're looking to highlight, and Belveth, Milkshake, that's a lot of onus, right, onto Milkshake. That's saying, hey, you are our main carry, make it work. I've been haunted and, let's say scarred a little bit by some Belveth games that I witnessed. I think it was genuinely in the NLC Div 2, possibly in a UKEL game instead, where it was 2 different Belveths played back-to-back, bombed by each jungler. Across the course of both games, they did a combined 7,000 damage.
Yep, I remember that.
Was that us? Yep. It was
That
so
was
bad.
UKEL.
It was
That
UKL.
that was
it
the
was
situation.
So bad.
And that is what can happen to this champion if she's not able to get stuff done. And she just becomes kind of a non-factor. Like, maybe you can land a knock-up? Maybe? But
if
at the
that's
end
what
of the
you're
day,
relying on, it's not it.
Yeah, not exactly what we're expecting, and certainly not what I'm expecting from Milkshake here either, considering the game that we just saw him play might have been a loss, but that Vi was certainly one of the bright sparks that we saw from Lazy in Life in that game. Coming on into the Rift then. Top lane is certainly going to be interesting. I want to see how Strato does up into Edinburgh. Of course, the Darius can potentially be very, very nasty if Strato is disrespectful in the early stages.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the Cassante, you can survive for an insane amount of time. We saw in the previous game just how much damage the Cassante can do. It's going to be a fascinating matchup to watch, really, across all of these lanes. But yeah, the jungle, that's going to be crazy there.
We'll keep an eye on the two of those once we join onto the Rift.
That's
this
so
little
cute.
guy. It is very, very cute.
The
little
snail,
as
though.
well. We are being spoiled.
Not such a little guy, that snail, to be honest. I think actually
That's
in terms of...
unit of a snail, actually. Yeah.
Those are big boy snails, and yeah, we are going to jump onto the Rift here.
So I just got a massive WoW flashback. Any WoW players in the chat? In the Mists of Pandaria expansion, in a raid, there is a...
hang on.
Ooh, Milkshake.
He gets stunned.
Up, flashes out.
Oh.
The ghost was used by Edinburgh there, and the flash from Grissom, of course, with Hex Flash. It's not all that big of a deal. Why is it when I try and do a little anecdote, the level 1s actually happen, Max?
Come on, hit us with it. I mean, things might still happen.
In the Throne of Thunder raid, I believe, there are these snails, these gastropods, that move very, very slowly and sort of focus on players and move towards them, and they leave a trail behind them. If it hits you, or you stand on the trail, you insta-die.
So it's the sneaking snail thing. Oh, is Milkshake going to go over this wall? Anybody's going to be so sad if Milkshake decides to go over this wall. Do they know?
Strato is coming around.
Do they know?
I'm not sure if they do. Milkshake just going to wander on in. Edinburgh.
This is crazy.
He's now going to get spotted out. The dashes come through. Piebald will be able to ensure that Milkshake's not in any real danger. But Edinburgh completely denying first camp away from the Belveth.
I kind of love this.
Start.
This is really
real
fascinating.
start.
Wait, Milkshake steps up here. Has no flash.
Into the Talia Milkshake.
He's just dead.
Oh, what are you doing?
What?
Edinburgh! Not only does he deny first camp, deny the start of first clear, but just refuses to elaborate, murders the jungler, goes back to top lane 400 gold richer.
That was crazy right there out of Milkshake. Stepping up, had already lost the flash, and what an insane 5-head play it was out of Eddie Burry. You could see on that previous 5-man invade, really wanted to flash over the wall to try to chase out Milkshake, decided against it, figured that it wasn't going to be worth his flash, probably wasn't going to be able to get on top of the Belveth anyway, and that turns out to be an excellent decision, but is instead wanders around, plays some just sneaky little games in the jungle, and delays the Belveth massively. While all of that is happening, Bash is able to actually go clear some camps, steal away camps as well, didn't really take any of his own beyond just those first initial chickens, and has just given his jungler so much freedom, as well as himself a first blood. Obviously hasn't been able to get back to base to spend it, but still, that's going to be a great start once he does finally go back to base. This is going to be a happy Darius. That being said, he's going to get ganked. Bash is behind, though.
Bash is indeed making his way in. Edinburgh has no summoners and will be getting delivered right into the waiting jaws of Milkshake. So, Strato is going to be able to give his jungler a kill back, although Bash is going to try and keep them in check. Edinburgh, of course, already back out onto the Rift. Looks like Bash is going to try and get this under turret wantage. Moving up as well to cover for their dead top laner.
Yeah, this is great.
That
this is a huge
from a very
wave.
rough lane sustain.
Oh, Bash is just going to be able to chase down Strato right here. Doesn't have a flash or anything.
Might just be dead here. One more hit will do it. One more auto. Bash lives up to his name. That's onomatopoeic right there as he takes a kill.
Just going to be able to pick that one up nice and easily. The wave is also under the tower, forces the immediate teleport back. Hook going to land.
Tidebringer taking some good damage. Sim going to try and trade this one back. Of course, Ezreal relies on those skill shots though, so Vardag's not in all that much danger. Christian though, taking a decent chunk for his trouble.
He's going to go again.
The hook finds another hook. Arcane Shift out. Tidebringer will be able to survive. The Ignite gets dropped as well. Vardags and Christian, mana's quite low. Health not all that high either. No one, in fact, no one in this bot lane is looking particularly healthy. Thankfully, the Triumphant Roar.
Oh my god!
Hook. These are just magnetized.
That was crazy. That being said, Milkshake is behind, and like you said, health bar's pretty low for fourth wall.
Knocked straight underneath the tower for Vargags. No way he's going to get out of this one. Grisen is going to get run down by Milkshake. Not quite going to drop. Royal Maelstrom will be enough to pull that one out. And Milkshake, despite being put so far ahead, has already secured 2 kills.
Yeah, it's just been able to claw himself back into this one. Those 2 kills are going to be huge right here. The double longsword doing some good work, and I think that this is where Milkshake kind of shines, right? In a position where, hey, fallen behind a little bit during the early stages, but just plays this next couple of minutes so well. Ebury is going to get 3 stacks of the bleed onto Strato.
He's got 6! Ready to drop the hammer, drop the axe. Doesn't even do it. Doesn't need it. Strato will burn out, bleed out. And with no TP to get back to lane, that should be a plate or 2 as well for Ebury.
Ebury playing this one out incredibly well. Is, like you said, going to be able to shove in this wave as well. Whilst all of that craziness is happening in the top side, we've got 4 members hovering around this Drake. Nobody really moved towards it quite yet. We've obviously got the grubs spawning just a couple of seconds time too. Could be a fight potentially around this Drake, and it is an Infernal, so there is a pretty good incentive to get teams around this one. If you do end up going early on, you would really favour a Kai'Sa in terms of the amount of damage he's able to do, but there is a Sheen already on Tidebringer, so he's going to be hurting quite a lot.
Yeah, that kill he was able to secure is going to end up meaning quite a lot. Bash is able to ward Milkshake and Sim away from getting to the Drake, and it's right at this point, fourth wall are going to pull the trigger on this. They know where Milkshake is as well, so they know that that trade of Drake for grubs is not happening. Tidebringer looking to maybe join in on the play. The hook again lands onto the Ezreal, handed back. Blue team has slain the dragon. Milkshake gonna drop the W to try and make this one out. Wantage now joining the play. Velveth just barely surviving.
The hook
flashes forwards, is able to secure the kill. Grisen put underneath the tower. He does not die. An auto after a flash from Piebol will be able to secure it. There is still a primordial burst available as well. Can he find his mark? Sim stepping forwards as well, looking, searching to find his target. The Sim might just be dropping though. The baby cage doesn't drop quickly enough. Bash does go down, but Vardags is going to keep on hitting into Piebol. One more plasma proc will not be enough. And after an absolute brawl in the bot side, it's a Drake for fourth wall. It's kills galore. Not really sure who won that.
I think you're going to be happy as fourth wall with that one. You managed to get a couple of kills onto some key members. Obviously, Piebol getting away with a couple is going to be huge. Milkshake heading top lane, though. Ebury pushed up.
I mean, you're not getting out of this one. You go Flash, but unless it is very, very good, I feel like you're not going to be feeling all that good.
This one pretty well.
Still only level 5. He might be able to turn this one around. Royal Maelstrom comes through. Bash looking to join the play. Not able to find the wall, but it will not matter as the slam will be enough. Bash able to walk this one out as well. Strato does not use
the hook.
Oh, wow, Sim is in trouble. No level 6. No unbreakable will to survive. And the axe will fall onto Lazy in life. Ebury picks up his 3rd kill in a situation that looked dire for him.
Really did, but Ebury has been playing these ones out pretty dang well, and I love the roam right here from Bash and Grisen working together. These hooks have been on point the entire game. Really laser focused on that one, and you're able to pick yourself up these grubs as well.
I just realized the 100% win rate for Tidebringer died after last game.
Yes.
Wantage looking for Piebol here. Might be in a little bit of trouble though.
Wait, the flashback doesn't land. The combo.
It did get the stun. It will eventually be the kill. I don't think the primordial burst actually hit there, as Milkshake is the one to pick up his 3rd kill of the game. Not that Piebol is complaining, considering he has 2 of his own already. Lazy Life still definitely swinging back in these plays. And we can see, yeah, there's a 1.5k gold advantage for fourth wall right now, but yeah, lazy. Not resting on their laurels, not content to just let this game snowball away from them.
No, indeed. They're just going to keep trying to put the pressure on, trying to pick up as many kills as they can right now onto their jungler, onto their mid lane. It's working out decently so far. We are pre any first item, so you're just relying on those raw stats that your champions have. The Primordial Burst not going to deal the most amount of damage at this point, but still more than enough to be able to get those executes through. But the top lane right now is a real problem. Strato didn't have the best game previously on the Twisted Fate. At least when you fall behind on a Cassante, he is still going to be useful. He's still going to be able to be a tank for your team. But this Darius is crazy strong right now, and once that first item gets completed, we're just going to be in such a strong position. That Trinity Force is going to make this Darius so much harder to kill, and also just able to run down whoever's in front of him.
I certainly wouldn't want to be Strato when that happens. I also see bodies all sitting on
get
top
stunned.
side, but the cage will land. Wantage will get burst out, and Pieball has got those 2 kills relatively quietly at first, but he is primordially bursting onto the rift. 3 kills already picked up. Wantage, we talked about his movement being good, but hasn't quite had the same impact as Pieball so far this game.
Yeah, he's just not quite been able to get the same level of aggression going. Obviously, there were some pretty good Weaver's walls around that bottom lane fight, but that was kind of the most that we've seen. Eddie Bury, once again, trying to get involved just before Strato has that Ghost back up and available. A lot of pings going on around the bot lane too, though. We do have another Drake spawning in under a minute's time. A good amount of vision set up right now for Grizzon and fourth wall. But the response may be coming through from Lazy. They've taken some resets. You've now got that fully completed item plus boots for Pieball. He's going to be in a good spot to try to make this next fight work as well as possible for his team.
Yeah, holding his advantage right now. Edinburgh looking for another play towards the top side. All out used as Milkshake will join the play. Strato
Just
has
dead.
already bugged out. He gets the kill anyway. Milkshake does not have any tank yet. All he has got is that Kraken Slayer, gets the 5 stacks onto Strato, transfers it to the Belveth, and it's good night.
Breck, is it us? Because every time I've cast a Belveth game with you, I've seen Belveths just not have a good time. Obviously, this is not a terrible game out of the Belveth, but...
Yeah, let's not sell Milkshake short here, despite the early, the really bad start of being denied early camps, dying. Got back onto the Rift, got some good work done, but unfortunately, trying to bail Strato out in this Darius matchup
doesn't work.
Not working out for him.
Specifically, that top lane play, did Milkshake have a good time?
No.
No. I think
not.
that
The last time
we
he didn't
might...
either.
Yeah, I think that we might make Belveths have a slightly worse time overall. But yeah, obviously Milkshake has been having a pretty okay overall time in this game. Is down by about 10 CS at the moment. Does also lose out onto the Drake, which I think hurts a large amount too. Wantage. Has the flash.
Might be left wanting again. CC is good. Damage is good. Milkshake picks up his 4th kill. And this is a player that we know for his assassins. Maybe feeling a little bit uncomfortable on a control mage.
Yeah, potentially just isn't quite able to get these ones working out right here. Obviously saw them on the Galio earlier as well. Really hasn't been allowed to play the picks that you're really looking towards Wantage to be playing out. Bash, though, gonna wander over, pick up the next set of grubs too. And this is gonna be 6 grubs and both of the Drakes. This jungle matchup, despite the fact that the Belveth is still finding kills, has felt like Bash is getting the better side of it overall. And once we get out of this sort of early stage into the mid-game where we get these scraps going, I do wonder if Bash is going to be able to make Milkshake regret the pick a little bit, just because of what you can do to a Belveth who does want to dash so much with that W Wantage. Oh,
I swear
man,
I've seen this
bad.
film before. Wantage getting dove again. Not
Milkshake
enough
picks it up
damage
again.
to ensure the kills either. Milkshake able to pick up his 5th kill and get out. Fourth wall, the game has for the most part been looking really good for them, but they need to stop this bleeding from their mid laner.
Yeah, it is a potential situation where you're just looking at the Talia as sort of a little bit of extra damage, you know. He's not going to be able to be that main threat that you would love for your Talia to be. We are going to see a dive top lane. Strato... so low already. Just dead.
I mean...
Just dead. TP coming in. I mean, for what? To save the tower, I guess. Immediately, immediately gets bashed back out.
Does
I
this mean
love
Edinburgh is
that.
able to take the tower down, though? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
I love that.
Keeper's verdict,
That's so
nicely
nice.
done. Bash, able to
Although-
secure it, and oh look, moves straight over towards the Rift Herald. Unfortunately, there are Lazy in Life numbers towards the top side. Milkshake already got the better part of 1.5 items. Bash quite low, although Milkshake not tanky by any means. Sim gonna take a good chunk of damage. Might be in
Sim
some
just
real
dead.
trouble of his own. No, Unbreakable will fall down as well. Wantage picking up his second kill. So much needed gold into the Taliyah's pocket right now, considering he's already 20 CS down.
Yeah, just really needed there, like you said. Also going to be able to pick up this Herald too. Another potential injection of gold onto Wantage. They try to use it in a lane where he's at. Otherwise, just take down these mid lane towers, really unlock the rest of the map. This bot lane was somewhere I kind of expected to be pretty explosive, and that first couple of minutes, it really looked like it was going to be. But beyond that, it's really been about these bot laners, these supports roaming around to the rest of the map to get a lot of these big explosive plays. The bot lane itself has been pretty chill so far. We are seeing those first completed items coming through, though. It's going to be Trinity Force for Tidebringer right here, but Static for Vardags. That is the standard build at the moment. But still, it means that, you know, that first static, it doesn't give you that much right now. It's once you get the next items coming through that you really pop off. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, once you get the Rage Blade, you still don't hit that hard. You just hit a lot.
Capital
and
risk.
if you're able to stay around in these fights, that's when you can really start to shred through people.
Yeah, it really is just, you know, it's day trading. It's investment. Capital is at risk, but if you can wait it out, then you will very quickly get to a sort of point where you are doing a good deal more on the Rift overall. I don't think Vardags, obviously, with that situation, the bot lane not being as explosive, I would like to think Vardags doesn't really care, because, again, he is investing in his future.
Yeah, absolutely. Perhaps if you're having a more explosive lane, you're going to go a slightly different way with those early items. We're going to see a potential bit of threat right here onto Vardags. Does have Lazy Sim and Tidebringer in the area. Recognizes that, is going to back off. The mid lane is getting pushed through right here for fourth wall. They're going to drop the Herald and then head down towards this Drake.
The prescience of the blue trinket is certainly going to be very good. Edinburgh has made his way down. Didn't need a TP for that one. It does mean that he has left Strato alone towards the top side. Might give up the top turret for it, but considering he's already taken the top tier 1, that's not that big of a deal, and Lazy in Life are not able to step into the river. So this will be, just after 17 minutes, Soul Point already picked up fourth wall.
This is what we saw in the previous game up against Lazy as well. They'd lost out onto Soul Point by this point in the game as well. It's really unfortunate for this to have worked out like that. But there are still some real bright sparks. Like you said, Strato got some time alone in the top lane, was finally able to get that tower down. A much needed injection of gold, has now got that first completed item plus that Barmy, so is sat in a decent position, will be able to survive for a while, especially when it is going to be that static onto Vardags, not exactly going to be shredding through the Cassante. Your mid laner is in a really strong position. Piebol can just blow somebody up. Also has two needlessly large rods in his inventory. We both know what that turns into, heading straight towards that Rabadon's death cap. And that could be a huge change.
That is how you do when you have infinite AP scaling on your passive. Production, can we have a peek at how Vigor is doing? I want to do like a pre and post. 479 AP, and that's before Abaddon's.
Yep, that's going to be a little bit terrifying. Thank you very much for showing us the gold as well. You can see the mid lane is a pretty big gap at the moment. Everywhere else looking relatively even, other than the top lane, which is a little bit crazy. Let's just say Eddiebury's been having a great time. 2 completed items on him. Looks like he may well be going towards a little bit of magic resist up next. Doesn't want to die to Piebol. Flashes over it, okay. Just dead.
Does not give a damn. The chase down comes through. Will be able to drop the axe, and there is a shutdown. Not the cleanest of dives I've ever seen, but Edinburgh makes it happen. Milkshake now on the run as the ghosting Dead Man's Plate Darius is looking to fight. Like, Darius would like to know your location.
Oh,
As the
he's
rest
just
of
chasing
Fourth Wall
on.
look to close in as well. Tidebringer is also caught in the
Hook
center.
lands.
Milkshake, another magnetized hook out of Grissom as the bodies start falling. Edabury has been doing so much work throughout this game. Steps away from tanking the tower for a moment, but he'll walk back on in to slice up some beef. A ready meal for his team. A triple kill for Edabury on the Darius. 9-1-1. Pray to what gods you have, because Darius is coming.
Oh my lord, look at that. He's also going to walk away with a Kainic Rooken too. You know, just was considering between the two different magic resist items. Goes towards the Kainic, and I mean, why not at this point? The Vhagar is the only threat in this game, and it's just not happening. I was, just before that dove happened, gonna posit the question between what do we think wins, the very strong Darius or the very strong Vhagar, and I think we got that answered pretty nicely for us, right?
Let's put some caveats.
Okay.
Edabury had to flash to
Yeah.
not get baby caged.
Yeah.
There were fourth wall numbers nearby.
Death cap wasn't completed at that point.
Deathcat wasn't completed. There are still plenty of scenarios, I think, that Highball absolutely has the better of than Milkshake. Getting dove towards again. Tidebringer very nearly gets caught back with the seismic shove. As Baron has now joined the rift, Pieball is just taking that reset. This is going to be Rabadon's completed. Fourth wall, though, they don't want to wait. They do not have the patience for it. They want to start up this Baron, or they might want to start a fight instead. They don't want to look for a pure 5v5 right now.
No, they're not in a great position to just straight up 5v5, especially with that Death Cat now completed. That's a very strong Vhagar. 669. Look at that. That is a great amount of AP for a Vhagar to be sat on. And if you can catch a couple of these key members, I think key members includes this Darius right now, you will just destroy them. Right now, though, we are seeing a catch going down onto Sim. Is just gonna die.
Bash has to flash in order to survive. Edabury is
the
looking
wall,
for
though.
the angles in here. Might get caught out, though. His teammates are a little ways away.
Fancy feet.
Strato trying to lock him up. He does get caught by the all-out. He's going to tank a whole lot of damage before going down. Can Fourth Wall capitalize, though? It doesn't seem like it, as Pieball is now unleashed. The Darius has dropped. It's a triple kill as Tidebringer looking to chase it down. It's a quadra for the Vhagar. Pray to your gods, Fourth Wall, because Vhagar is here.
And there you go, your caveat's gonna come true right here. It looks like once the fight is a little bit split, Edabury just gets taken out by Pieball, and once that Darius is down, that is a lot of the damage just gone. It was perhaps a little bit over-aggressive from Fardags and Grizz, and they wanted to still get involved in that fight. They're gonna lose the Baron, they're gonna lose the Drake, which would have been Soul as well. And that is a huge swing right there for Lasers. They're going to be very happy with that one. Now 2,000 gold in the lead. And this Vhagar is crazy.
7-1-2. Eyeball
51.
looking really, really strong. 40 CS up against Wantage. And just purely buys a Crit Bloom off that back. Just casually. Don't worry about it.
Oh, now wants to heal his team
that
too.
MR you bought. What of it?
Bye-bye. Yeah, bye. I don't care about that MR. Honestly, right now, I get why you've got the Dead Man's Play. It was good in your individual lane matchup. It makes it easier to chase people down. But every bit of armor that you own just feels useless right now because the Vhagar is the threat. Everybody else in this game is sort of set up right now for the Vhagar to just burst somebody out. Looks like Strato is going to get caught a little bit here. Grizzen should be able to hit this hook nice and easily. Obviously, Cassante can go unstoppable and is just far enough away that Edabury isn't able to just straight up chase him down. But still, this gold has swung massively. Hang on, Strato steps up again.
Uses the all-out to try and survive Edabury. Gonna take a good chunk of damage from the turret. Goes down to below half health. It's a dive dissuaded. It's a tower saved. Right now, other side of the rift, Pieball pushing the wave in. Look at all that AP. Look at all that tower damage that he is doing. It's going to fall very quickly, and an inhibitor is there potentially for the taking as well. There's a wave coming in shortly.
Do you think he hits 1,000 by the end of the game?
Easily. Easily. It's a Vhagar.
Do you think he hits
There's no way.
1,200?
TP is coming in. Edabury again caught
Wait.
was the spy. The fight is split though. Paibao does not have a way of keeping himself safe. Thankfully, Sim is there to do that job for him. Wantish trying to come forwards as well to make it happen, but the damage is not there. Strato does his job with aplomb. He is able to tank up all of that damage from the rest of Fourth Wall. He's the only casualty, as both the solo laners of Fourth Wall are down for the next 25 seconds. If Lazy and Life want it, the game could be theirs to take.
Yeah, they're going to push forward, see if they can find it. Hook does land.
Don't know if he wanted to land that hook though. Grissom getting melted down. Tidebringer will pick up one. Vardags will drop as well. Bash tries to do something in the back line. Pieball has a TP as well though. Can rejoin as the towers are falling. The minions aren't quite there right now as the respawns now coming through. Pieball, if he wants to fight this out, could do it. Edinburgh though is back up on the rift. People spreading back and forth to try and survive. Pieball gets the execute. Edinburgh stuck in the baby cage, and while that happens, the rest of his team will be able to take down the Nexus. Your Darius may be strong, but the Vigar was even stronger out at Pieball. And Lazy take the win.
That felt crazy. That felt like it was pretty much just Pieball winning that game straight up for his team. Obviously, it took a lot of setup. A Veigar cannot just play by himself. But when you take a look at the end stats, at the amount of damage, that was a crazy, crazy performance out of the mid laner. And it kind of came from the fact that the mid lane just kind of got left alone. The bot lane was a bit chill. The top lane was where things were going crazy. But once we got into these bigger team fights, just able to, with that primordial burst, just picking up a couple of kills here and there, and then once they got to the big team fights, once you're able to take out that top laner, that Darius is down, you're just going to be able to win out those games. Really impressive performance, and I have a lot of respect for the rest of Lazy for not panicking. They were quite far behind, but they just kept playing their game.
Just believe in the process. And turns out Vigar is a really good insurance policy. If you can keep him alive, Pieball will claw them over the line. So Lazy in Life, they go 1-1 today. I believe that will put them to 4-3.
4-3.
That's the last game of. Wait, no, 4-2, because they lost, so they went to 3-2.
Yeah.
So they'll be at 4-2 as well. Rich Gang, Garden Gaming, and Lazy in Life all at 4-2. That does mean that Fourth Wall finds themselves down in joint last with Ruza at 1-4 after today's games. We do have one more coming up, however. One final game, Unique, looking to bounce back after their loss to Garden Gaming against 42 Gaming. We'll be back for that in a few minutes, but before that, we are going to have an interview. Give us a moment while we set that up. welcome back, everybody, as we are joined by someone with an actual camera, Milkshake, coming on in for the third interview of the day. Welcome, and I've got to ask, how about that early game?
Yeah, it was quite a rough early game. It was a bit reminiscent of our series against Bloodline, that one game, I think game 2, where we were like 7k behind. This time it wasn't as bad, but again, the Darius, I greeded a bit at level 1 because of last game. We lost the game, so I want to take the camp, and then it kind of snowballed, but our mid lane had it down, so it was quite okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible performance in that one out of Pieball. I
Yeah.
would like to go back a little bit to that previous game. You were on the Vi. I think you had a pretty good game on the Vi overall. How did you feel that one went? And then what did you look to change in this matchup? You know, on a different champion, obviously, but what did you look to switch up?
Right, so our draft wasn't our conventional draft, right? We picked TF top lane, we picked up once before or twice before, so it's not completely new. But we couldn't execute it quite as well as last time, so we struggled a lot with the side lane in both games actually today, and we had quite a poor showing today, so we hope to improve it next week.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously in that second game, things went a lot better. I mean, moving forwards, how do you feel like the team is doing overall? Do you think it is the side laning that you need to have a little bit of a work on, or what you feeling?
I think we're doing quite all right at the moment. Even today, where we struggled a lot, just finding our form, our normal playstyle slipped a bit. We were not as awake, I would say, so not as aware of our surroundings, what we're gonna do. That's partially my fault because I'm the shot caller. I need to say what we need to do, what's our next objective. So I struggled a lot with that today. So I think we're quite fine. We will bounce back.
Good to hear. And since Max took my question, not counting yourselves, obviously, are there one or two teams that you would rate as you expecting to like pretty much be a shoo-in for playoffs yet, or are you not sure?
I mean, I think I said it yesterday as well in the interview. I think Unique is pretty much the clear-cut number 1 team at the moment, but I don't think they're unbeatable, and they also lost a game to the team we played against today, I think.
Yeah, Garden Gaming
VG?
yesterday.
Yeah. And so they're not unbeatable. They're probably strong, I think 4-1 or 5-1, something like that. But I think everyone can beat everyone in like the top half of the league at the moment.
Fantastic. Do you want to shout anyone out before we let you go? And see,
Yeah, of course.
two games.
Shout out to my team for holding it down in those 2 games, even if it was rough for some. And shout out to my brother. Yeah.
Nice. Fantastic. All right. Thanks very much, Milkshake. Obviously, you must be a little bit tired after those 2 games, so we'll let you go and we'll get on ready for our final game of the day. As Milkshake said, Unique coming up in just a couple of moments' time against 42 Gaming. We'll be back in a sec for that. Welcome back, everybody. Ahead of the last game of the day, Unique, after taking a bit of a hit, losing to Garden Gaming yesterday, coming on back to play against 42, a team known for a little bit of craziness.
Yeah, they really are. 42 are a super wild team, honestly, in the way that they play. Since they've got JJ back instead of Influentic, things have been a little bit smoother for them overall. Still, though, a lot of players that you will have heard of, Virtuoso, Balmeev, JJ, Chrissy, all of those guys, you know, have been on plenty of previous teams before. We know that they like to play a little bit crazy, so I'm not surprised by the way that 42 play. There's a little bit of a feeling, though, you know, from quite a lot of us that Unique may be a little bit annoyed about having lost last game. A lot of teams who are going 5-0, 6-0, and then lose a game are quite annoyed about having finally had that streak lost, and often the next team to play them doesn't have the best time of it.
Yeah, usually they come back out with something to prove, and 42, it's going to be really telling of how they come out in this game. I don't necessarily, even if they lose, as long as they like make it competitive,
Yeah.
then, you know, because this team has been very variable in their losses.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen them scrap toe-to-toe with, in some cases, and in others, not so much.
It just hasn't worked out for them in some cases, absolutely. So we're going to see quite a lot of these standard bans coming through. I am very much hoping that this is going to be a final 42 ban onto the Skarner. Otherwise, getting that on over to Archfiend probably isn't the best decision that anybody's ever had. Instead, it will be the Tristy taken out. I mean, to be fair, Dusty is crazy good on it, has been playing that, you know, quite a lot. Deadhound's Hui has also been left open. Yeah, Deadhound's Hui being open is going to be a higher priority for them. He has been playing that to just such incredible effect. Didn't lose a single game on it, I don't think.
We've been talking about AP bot laners, and yeah, Deadhound should be able to snap that one right up. Corki and Tristana are both gone, though, so AD mid lane options have been pinched a little bit. Have to see what Unique want to do as the draft continues. 42. Just going to start off nice and safe. It's not Sejuani duty for Balmeef, which is a little bit different from them.
Yeah.
But it's a proactive early jungler, can get a lot of stuff done. I'm certainly a fan of it.
Yeah, it works sort of the same way as a lot of the things that Balmeef has been playing. Has been playing some Jarvan, some of the Maokai, but just does a little bit extra damage, can be a little bit of extra aggression for you. Next pickup is going to be the Zeri, so that's interesting into the Hui. Now, Zeri can work into the Hui, I think, but you've got to be very accurate with landing all of those Qs, otherwise the Hui could just poke you out from so far away. Dynasty hovering towards the Vi, we've seen what it can do today, did lose, but still was pretty dang effective, and it's the sort of thing that Banastay, I just believe in them and their ability to just play crazy aggressive champions to sort of the fullest effect.
I won't comment on that until it gets locked in, because that's certainly something that's a little bit off-piste, shall we say.
Yeah, Touch plays it.
Vi is certainly something that can catch on to the Zeri, but you also find the potential situation of Vi ults Zeri. Zeri goes over a long wall, and then Vi has to solo kill the Zeri with Lightning Crash running and defensive sums available, which is easier said than done in a lot of cases.
Yeah. Absolutely, it's a real 50-50 situation where sometimes it's exactly what the Vi wants to chase the Zeri over that wall, and in other situations the Vi gets to the other side of the wall. There's a lot of friends potentially for the Zeri too.
Yep, that's me.
Doesn't always work. Yeah, wondering how they got into that poor situation. Yeah. The Rel also going to be locked in right here. It is once again a bit of a Mexican standoff we're going to have between the Nautilus and the Rel. You don't really want to be the one to engage first in the 2v2 in the bot lane. Obviously, once you get out of the lane, the Rel can be super effective in the teamfight, so can the Nautilus. It's a very standard matchup at the moment, so we're still kind of looking for our top laners and our mid laners in this matchup. This is a lot more standard for what we leave until the second rotation. We've seen a lot of crazy first picks recently.
Yeah, both sides right now, we see bot lanes plus junglers. Obviously, Hui could go into the mid lane, but considering how much of a prolific Deadhound pick it is, then, you know, we can read between the lines a little bit on that one. Ezreal taking a ban as well, so quite a lot of the safe AD carries have fallen away. To see what progresses from there. Obviously, we've seen some people fall back. I mean, Chrissy against Rich Gang fell back onto the Sivir yesterday, which they ended up losing that game, but I don't want to comment on how effective or ineffective that was be.
And
With
not
Oriana
gonna
hitting the bench as well.
Yeah. Crazy that the Skarner is going through this draft phase. Actually, like
Yeah,
truly
it has
insane.
still not been picked. Surely you just snap this for top lane.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? As either of these guys is going to be the lock-in of the Talia. We've seen that in the jungle recently. It will be a mid laner, though, for JJ, since we've already got that Jinjail picked up. Now, Archfiend, I mean, I don't see any Skarner games, but a lot of the top laners haven't played any Skarner games because it's been permabanned. We talked about that at the start of the day. I mean,
So,
do you really want to let it go?
how is the Skarner Rumble matchup, I guess? Because Rumble is open.
It's fine. The
I
Skarner's
spoke
fine.
about the Sivir, and apparently I'm just prescient, as it does get locked in, which means this is not... Unless you want to play mid lane Sivir, which seems very odd.
Very odd. This is a wild bait and switch that they've pulled out right here for
said,
Unique.
If you're into the Talia in mid lane, it only really matters if you spell shield the seismic shove. So that could be a potential big brain option for Dusty. I don't certainly expect it, but we'll see what goes on. And still no Skarner.
The Skarner up until this point, well, up until today, had a 94% pick ban. There we go. Finally, I was so surprised if that was going to go through. I feel like 42 have been handed that on a silver platter. To get to last pick, that is kind of crazy. And let's see what Virtuoso could do.
Virtuoso just has to be kind of chuckling maniacally. Like, you do not get Skarner left to R5 very often in this game. And also, obviously, we can talk about Deadhound is not playing his way today. That is interesting to see. We'll see how well Dusty can pilot that. Obviously, you expect a competent mage player to at least have the basics down on Hui. And I mean, he's been out long enough that even the basics are probably like child's play for most people.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not the hardest champion to really play, which, you know, I like it. To be honest, I think when it's able to pull so many people in, 3-man Skarner rolls are just super crazy. It's always such a good time. Is this cat cam time? It's cat cam time!
Beck, what do you think about this game? He's too busy trying to eat me. Hello, buddy.
I think Beck's a Skarner fan, right? I'm a Skarner fan.
He'll probably settle down on the cat tower there. But yeah, we have an extra spectator for the final game of the day. 42. Yeah, gifted the Skarner in draft.
I mean,
Unique though.
They got what they would like.
Yeah. Just not on the players they like normally.
No, really, really interesting. Deadhound has been having that band away the majority of the time because his way is crazy. So good. But that means that it's a very effective bait because everybody thinks, oh, it's way, it's instantly going to be going down into the bottom lane.
Before roll swap.
Yeah, exactly. And so now you've shown that it can go either way. I think that makes it a lot scarier. So I really like them now showing it into the mid lane too. At this point, Deadhound has played the Hui and the Tristana, both champions that Dusty's going to have shown. And so you're now completely opening up these things to where if you do first pick the Hui, now the opposition cannot fully assume. They don't get to just say, oh, cool, it's just going to be in the bottom lane. We can now focus mid laners. That gives you something in your draft.
There is a slight caveat to that, though. And that's depends on how well Dusty does this game.
True.
If Dusty has a bit of a funny game, shall we say, then I think teams can be a little bit less paranoid about seeing it in the mid lane again.
True.
But I mean, even if it's like a neutral sort of state for the game, then I feel like then the flex alone is reason enough for them to further consider banning out those champions, or at least take greater pause when they're locked in.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to give them a little bit of extra flexibility, like you said, if it goes well. Obviously, if it doesn't go well, that's going to suck just a little bit, not exactly what you would like to see. Still, as we go on, we'll be getting into the game in just a little bit's time. Had a little bit of a pause, so, you know, we can talk about these compositions a little bit more. And what compositions they are. obviously, like we said, champions in different places, but we've got some very different identities. There is a lot of poke on both teams potentially. The Hui's obviously good at poking, the Sivir is pretty good at that too. But I mean, at the same time, there is a lot of aggression that you can lay down between a Skarner, a Rel, and a Xin Zhao.
As you say, there will be a lot of different questions to be answered when we get into game. You did mention that a little bit of a technical issue, and as such, it's going to be a few minutes before we get on into the game. So rather than boring you with Max and I talking about like what we had for our lunch and whatever, we are going to throw it to a little tech break. We will be back when we are ready to get onto the Rift. Still don't go anywhere. We've got a game to come. Welcome on to Summoner's Rift, everybody. We are back for the final game of the day. Unique looking for redemption after their loss to Garden Gaming 42. Looking to claw themselves up towards the top and half of the Rift. And
Yeah,
we do
I
see...
mean...
The questions remain.
Yes.
How is this Skarner going to play out? How is Dusty going to do on Deadhound's signature way? All this and more will be answered in the next 30 minutes.
Absolutely, and you know, just before anything spicy goes on, I would just like to say to production that that is my absolute favorite of the pre-game cinematics.
Yeah.
The dramatic zoom in onto the frog is just
Frog.
absolutely brilliant. But yeah, like you said, this is an incredibly important matchup for both of these teams. Unique need to show that their loss to Garden Gaming was just a fluke. You know, things just went a little wrong. Touch is super surrounded right now, but just gets to walk that one out. Instead,
I'll point
lands a
out-
hook back.
Ooh. JJ, not feeling too good.
So low.
Flash.
Just dead.
It's just walking out. It's going to burn down, and that's the first kill for Deadhound.
Oh, that's not
No,
the first
Dusty,
blood.
it's the Quay. It's the Quay. It's Dusty.
Dusty. Oh boy, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to be doing that one. Seeing a way, seeing it on Unique, it's almost always Deadhound. Now it is going to be Dusty's, and getting a first blood is exactly what you want. This champion scales super well. In the early game, it's not really about the damage he does, it's a lot more about the slows that you can put down to just be annoying in the team fights, in the lane. Later on, though, can just shred through people. Deadhound does potentially step too close to this bush. Instead, is going to play respectfully, sees Chrissy and Rexat. And that's a perfect start for Unique in this bounce back game. Now, I think everybody knows about Unique, how strong they are, what they can do. The fact they lost in the previous round is such a surprise to people. 42 though, they've been super back and forth, haven't they?
Yeah, looked really good in their wins, but inconsistent, shall we say, in the manner in which they've lost the games that they've lost.
Yeah, a lot of players who
Looking
like
now-
to play crazy, and you can really tell that
Yeah,
from the way that they've been
That
going.
goes both ways.
Yes.
I wonder if they're going to calm down as the split goes on, or if they're just going to continue to thrive in that chaos. JJ, getting some good trades. Obviously, Dusty, after getting that first blood, was not able to reset. So,
Instead, is just going to have to stick it out in this lane. Obviously means once he does get back to base, he's going to be in a very strong position. 400 gold in the back pocket. For right now, though, it's just trying to trade back and forth between JJ. You can see good damage being traded back and forth between these two. Could be potentially quite juicy for the junglers. Don't have a lot of lockdown necessarily. It's a little bit tricky to land either of their CC, but with the junglers involved, that becomes a hell of a lot easier. For right now, though, both the junglers matching each other pretty much exactly, going to opposite sides of the map. Doesn't really seem to be a gank opportunity top lane for Banasty, but Balmeath could potentially try to get involved in the spot lane.
considering the way the wave is pushing, I was going to say that would be a good opportunity, but Deadhound and Touch, they push the wave in, they take a reset, so not much can be done here. Vituso is taking the worst side of the earlier trades, but of course, Skarner is going to be absolutely fine. We'll be able to pick up a tier. Just chill out, make your way up towards Winter's Approach and later Fimbulwinter, and be nigh unkillable later.
Yeah, exactly. You really are just gonna keep on living for sort of as long as you want once you do get those couple of items underneath your belt. This early game has been pretty calm so far, and I think that's what you expect out of the first clear from both of these junglers. They certainly can 3-camp to gank or full clear and then go find a gank. Instead, both are going to head
Hang on a
back to
second.
base.
That's the Xin Zhao. You go red buff into gank every single game in solo queue.
This is true, however, this might not be solo queue.
True. But
No, I do get you. There is a definite feeling with the Xin Zhao that getting that early gank off as quickly as possible is the ideal. I do love a
you know
Xin
that
Zhao
Jarvan
versus
meme
Jarvan.
that-
Yeah.
yeah, there's that Java meme that we ran into the ground about if you haven't visited 2 of your lanes by 5 minutes, why are you even picking the champion? That's even more true on Xin Zhao.
Yeah, I, to be fair, would like it out of the Vi as well, but neither of these junglers are going to give that to us. Instead, we can see Balmeath taking these chickens, potentially hovering around Dusty right now. Is spotted, though, so Dusty's not going to be under any real threat at the moment. And these junglers really are just matching each other, mirroring each other as they head along through these camps, finally going to diverge in their pathing, in that both seem to be heading down towards this. isn't great. It is one of the best individual Drakes to be able to pick up, and they would have liked to have secured that one, but, you know, it just wasn't working out for them in that situation.
Right. Elsewhere on the map. See some plates getting picked up. Second set of grubs spawned up and was picked up by Bananiasti. So, despite the Drake being traded out there,
Big engage.
Touch locked up. He's taking all of this damage on the chin though, as the rest of Unique join the play. Rexat is already down. Balmy is going to try and make something happen, but he is up a creek. And JJ far too late to the play.
Yeah, not going to be able to pick up anything there, and Bananasti shows why they are probably the best jungle we've seen in the game. Chrissy does go in onto Deadhound. Touch is pretty low.
Yeah, still looking for the chase down angle. Deadhound gonna have to back away after that touch. Also very, very low. Again though, Bananasti feels more than confident to walk on into the
CS
upside jungle, take all of these camps, and yeah, already 20 CS in the advantage. Vituso can spot it out, but what the heck's he gonna do about it?
And Bananasti, Archfiend, they can just head back on over that wall after their little heist. And Balmeath, there's not really anything that you can do. Obviously, both of them have that Sundered Sky completed. So in a straight-up 1v1, you're not going to be too dissimilar. You know, a little bit of a level advantage means that you're going to give the advantage over to the Vi, but it's just the constant choking out of Balmeath. They're just not able to play this game.
Looking towards the top side. Vituso. He's been able to keep up okay with Archfiend.
Oh, hang on. Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, Rexat takes some damage, but he will mostly be fine. The Skarner. Perhaps we are now starting to learn why he is not picked as much anymore, because everyone just assumes he's going to be banned, so they don't pick him.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, it's so strong in people's minds, but does that necessarily mean that it's just as strong right now? And potentially in this composition, it's just not as good. Of course, we haven't gotten to the point where in a big team fight and he grabs 3 people and, well, at that point, what on earth are you meant to do? Yeah. So we'll have to see if this gun is going to be able to pull it back at some point. Still, though, with the Eclipse completed right now onto Archfiend, he's going to be feeling pretty dang good about the way that this early game has gone. There's going to be a Shelly on the map. Neither of the junglers are around for him right now. There is going to be a ping onto it right now for Balmeath. And with Bananasti on a recall, they're not going to be there for at least a little bit. Instead, Balmeath just going to clear away some of the vision. I think vision has been something that, so far in this game, Unique's just done really well. They've had a ton of vision around all of these objectives. It's not led to many picks, necessarily, but it has led to them being able to get into the enemy jungle and steal away a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's also led to them having a 2k gold lead around the 15-minute mark. Whole lot of pings coming out though, as Bananiasti has been caught out a little bit, flashing away. Balmeath drops the ultimate, is going to survive a little while longer, but Archfiend certainly has something to say about that, as numbers from all sides are looking to join the play. Rexat will drop, JJ needs to get out, he has his flash available, will be able to get away. The Impale lands onto 2, Archfiend will drop.
There it is!
He is able to open up, Touch now needs to get away, although Deadhound might have some damage to drop of his own. Vituso is able to tank up quite a lot. JJ cannot rejoin the play. The flash of Vituso only puts him in position to suffer more pain. Unique will be able to pick up one more. JJ drops from the Severing Bolt as well. Chrissy gonna take some damage also on the escape, and Unique, they get it all.
I feel like we might have been able to answer a couple of our questions coming into this game in that most recent fight. Can the Skarner get involved in a team fight and change the landscape of it? Yes, obviously it still didn't go the best for 42, but the Skarner arriving in that fight, landing that Impale onto 2 members, is the reason that it wasn't a straight-up ace. That team fight was going horribly for 42, and the Skarner was pretty good. But I think the more important question is, can Dusty play this way? And I'm going to say yes. 4-1-4 right now. Doing pretty good.
Acceptable performance for 1-4, doing pretty alright for himself. 42. They do have the inside line on a second Drake pickup, so we'll be able to get that. Chrissy as well will be able to pick up their first turret of the game. In trade though, Archfiend and Aniasti will be able to pick up the Rift Herald. Shelly going into pocket. It's going down quite slowly, actually, all things considered. It will be picked up eventually.
Yeah, Yeah, it goes down eventually, even if it's a little bit of slow. There was no real contest coming through. Wasn't too much of a risk of having that one stolen away. And once we get out of that team fight, I don't feel like anything changes too much. The gold lead increases. You're still feeling good about the early game as Unique, but this isn't the sort of leveling that we've been seeing from them prior to that loss, right? They felt like they weren't allowing other teams to even breathe in this game. It's been pretty dominant so far, but I've not seen that moment where I'm like, yeah, this is the 4-0 Unique that we had prior to yesterday. There's still obviously plenty of time in this game for them to just snap their fingers and win this game. But I'm going to be really interested to see where that is going to happen, if it ends up happening, or if 42 can find something crazy. Because right now, you know, top lane's not doing so bad. Like you said, get within touching distance, picked up a kill. Deadhound is getting engaged on here.
Let's see. Looking to open up.
Wow. Nearly gets
Spell
just
shield.
soloed.
Well, Spell Shield keeps Deadhound alive. Balmy Rexat, they will be able to put some damage down, but Bananasti showing up just in time to keep that mid lane tier 1 turret alive. Of course, does still have Shelly in his pocket as well, but so might have just hit that point that he can trade back. We will find out who is doing the better. Ixtal's impact will bring him through the wall. Archfiend still feeling confident. The healing
I get
from the honey
collapsed on.
fruits.
He's fine. Look at the healing that this guy has. Able to just run through walls as well. Although this could be a big fight.
Touch is a little bit of trouble here. Gonna have to flash away. Does get caught by the seismic shove. Batuso looking to join in on the mid lane play. Impale does not find anybody. The 42, they do find their mark in the mid lane.
Yeah, they do. They're able to get a nice little kill over onto Touch. This is going to open up this mid lane tier 1 tower as well. Going to fall. Nice bit of gold over to 42, and they are keeping themselves nicely in this game. That's only about a 2,000 gold gap between the two teams, and it was just an unfortunate situation where it felt like everybody's tried to collapse on everybody else. Archfiend had to get away. Touch, who was looking to try to join his top laner for the fight, just wasn't quite in the right position. Still though, we're going to get a Rift Herald put down into this mid lane. That means the outer turret for 42 is going to fall. Don't know if they're going to be able to get another charge off though, as the rest of 42 have just taken a reset. Not on their way back, indeed. Shelly's just going to fall after taking the 1 tower.
Yeah, the grand sum will be mid lane tier 1 turrets traded across the map. And as you say, there's still a 2.7k gold lead for Unique right now. But the game has certainly stayed relatively quiet. The leads that Unique had been able to find seem to have plateaued off a little bit. And yeah, if we want to see a return to that dominant force that they were in weeks past, then we really need to see them push the accelerator here.
Absolutely. Hang on a second. There we go. Right. Sorry about that. My game just
All good.
flickered on me. All good. We are back indeed. Instead, we are just going to have a look at the state of the game at this point, right? The gold gap isn't massive. The Drakes aren't huge. With the Baron spawning, I don't think either of these teams can try to just steal it away. You don't take it that fast. You take it fast enough that with a couple kills, maybe with a big gap of vision, you can take this one away. But I think both of these teams are going to need to start a fight to be able to find that sort of play. If you're looking to start a fight right here, it is kind of on Bananasti to be able to find that initial engage. Otherwise, I don't really know who else it can be on the team to really find that initial one. Maybe a hook out of touch.
Yeah, aside from that, yeah, options few and far between. JJ has to step on back to the tower. Numbers of Unique members making their way towards the bot side, putting down vision, preparing themselves for this next Cloud Drake spawning in 45 seconds time. From there, I mean, that is certainly... Ocean Soul is certainly a nice way back into the game for the side of 42. Unique, of course, will also very much like to do what they can to stop this. As you said, the Baron's not fast enough that if 42 wanted to start that one up, they could sneak it away and trade.
Yeah, indeed. If they do try to sneak this one away, though, I mean, we're still pretty early in the game. They could end up taking quite a lot of damage from it. Not really sure if that's going to go as well for them as they would have hoped. This could be a big engage right here, though. Balmeave taking a lot of damage. Hook doesn't quite land, though.
Just jostling for position, Virtuoso. Ixtal's impact will put him alongside his teammates. The Drake has now spawned Unique. Looking to start this one up in 42. Not wanting to commit to it. They are going to give up the Drake to try and prioritize mid lane cryo, it seems. But with the speed that Unique can rotate with the Sivir, with the Hwei, they are going to be able to get to mid lane in time to defend their tier 2 turret. Their wave is going to get melted pretty darn quickly, although Touch taking a lot of damage. The engage comes through. Benaniasi looking for the backline. However, Chrissy and JJ able to keep themselves safe. Rexat flashes out, is still alive. Damage coming through from Spiraling Despair.
They all
Rexat
live.
will drop to Archfiend. Severing Bolt falls onto JJ's head once again. Another one comes through. Chrissy still staying relatively healthy. There's a wave right there. Archfiend at a moment's notice could look forwards. Vatusa has been caught by Bananyasti.
Oh, get stopped.
Can't find the wall, gets disrupted out of it, and that's 3 members down. Chrissy and Balmuth still alive. If Unique wanted to start the Baron, in theory, not that much they could do to stop it. Instead, they are going to make discretion be the better part of valor. Take a reset, spend that gold that they just gained, spend that advantage, come back out onto the rift, ready to fight again.
That was a just insane fight right there.
Oof.
There's something about Unique that means they just survive. I mean, what are you saying, oof, at? Because the mid lane is an oof. The top lane is an oof. I think the jungle still counts on an oof, to be honest.
Chrissy's doing okay, though. Chrissy's at 1.5k up onto Deadhound. So this is still very much a game that could just be a Zeri angle. Like, sometimes Zeri does Zeri things, and
I mean,
you win
full
again.
item up, right? That
Exactly.
it could definitely happen, and I mean,
Look at the CS.
this is what I was saying
270.
in the previous fight,
Every
right?
single scrap of gold has been handed to Chrissy here.
And this is what I was saying, right? That fight, there's something about Unique that means they just live those somehow. But everybody on Unique was so unbelievably low in that fight. It really looked like they were going to be able to win that fight 42. If they'd have just gotten one of those kills, all of a sudden they can turn around and just full engage. But it just didn't quite work out. And maybe with this Zeri now having full 3 completed items, you're going to actually pick up that kill, and then those fights can go differently.
Stun lands onto Archfiend, but I mean, it's 2.5 item Renekton. I don't think he's worried all that much about that. Balmuth, though, has been spotted, has been found out, rooted up, locked up, and that is going to be too much damage for him to handle. His teammates cannot get to him in time. That's a jungler dead. That's a Baron for Unique.
It should be, although 42, they have something to say about that still. Touch taking a ton of damage.
Do they, though? They are down in numbers. TP is now coming through. Chrissy dropping quite low. Dusty also going to drop shutdown for JJ. It's still a 4 versus 3. Chrissy is the only one that matters. Deadhound will drop down. Vatuso is doing some good damage. JJ surviving for a fair long time. Touch will eventually knock him down. It's the Skarner versus the world. Flash forwards. He takes it down. Touch on the run. And in the 4v5 that 42 have no right to win. It's the Skarner that is running Unique off the rift.
Yeah, the Skarner, it was allowed through such an insane pick ban rate, and we can see why right now. In the individual laning phase, it isn't the most impressive, but once you get to those team fights, it survives for so long, and even through all of that...
His damage items.
Yeah.
Why is he allowed to do that much damage, Rito?
Hey, he has yeah, that's the damage items he has. That's why he's dealing damage, because I said so. I mean, yeah, thank you, Zoe. That is exactly right. To be fair, while Virtuoso did some crazy damage in that fight and just survived for so unbelievably long, Chrissy dealt so much before they died, and was the reason that that fight wasn't a complete disaster, as you said it might be for 42.
JJ also survived a very long time on that Talia, so it was kind of cleanup duty for that Skarner. 40 seconds until the next Drake spawns in. Vatuso very confident to step forwards into pretty much any scenario. Ixtal's impact coming through as well. Rexat taken a lot of hurt, does not have a War Mag to be able to top back up.
No.
You can be able to get some honey fruit. Yeah, that'd be alright. They do have a decent ways in, but look at the vision. It's still very much Unique favored. 42, they cannot step in right now, it seems. Especially JJ is currently clearing the wave top.
Had to go top lane, was losing out on so much with just the constant pressure that was being laid down by Unique. The second that they're going to see JJ top lane, immediately head on over to that Drake. It was just a good, patient play right there out of Unique, and that's something they are so good at. This team really knows when to pick fights a lot of the time. I mean, to be fair to them, that previous fight looked like it should have gone well for them, a 4v5 situation. Still, they are going to lose a top lane outer turret for the Drake. I don't think you're too mad about that one. It is going to be Soul Point. Ocean Soul would be huge in this fight, especially because I don't think you can give over the Ocean Soul to this Skarner and win this game.
Well, they're on their way to doing that. Soul Point is secured. JJ currently, oh, credit to him. He is quite a ways down. We saw the gold, but he's still being impactful. Chrissy, the Flame Horizon is in full effect.
Absolutely it
100 CS
is.
difference between himself and Deadhound. But considering the extra assists Deadhound has picked up, that does soften the blow somewhat.
Just a little bit, but still down by a full item at this point. You know, you're not in a particularly strong position compared to your opponent, and the Zeri, like you said, can do Zeri things. You can see the Baron being started up right here by Unique. Everybody is here.
Valmy fruited up though. Rexap looks to step in. That is a Rel that is nowhere near tanky enough to do anything. Benaniasti looks for Chrissy on the backside. There is the catch. It is only on to touch, however. Benaniasti again looks for the reset, the regain angle. And Vatuso able to tank all of this damage. Valmy not able to tank that much damage. Chrissy firing over the wall, but Dusty hits it with the devastating fire. Triple kill for Deadhound. And they can peel on back. They don't need a jungler if the enemy jungler's dead.
Exactly. It took a little bit longer than Unique would have liked to have found that fight. But once you pick out onto Rexat, like you said, this Rel with just a Knight's Vow in inventory really is not going to be strong enough to hold up against that damage. And without the Rel, any hope of engage just goes. Chrissy was doing work over the wall, but JJ got bursted down. Without Rexat, you don't have that spacing. And Virtuoso, again, was able to absorb so much damage. With 3 items completed, this champion is super strong, but it just isn't enough, unfortunately. And that is now going to be Baron buff over to Unique, and they're going to be looking for ways to crack the base of 42.
Well, just looking at the items alone, and, I mean, let's look at the 2 carries here, shall we? Hui possesses some of the longest range poke in the game. Sivir has some very nice poke and some insane push potential.
Oh, Balmeef.
Balmeef. Found again in the middle of 4 members. He's going to try and do some damage. Puts Dusty decently low, but the follow-up again from 42 is far too late. Depth charge on to Rexat, and he too is going to drop. Deadhound finds himself on a rampage. Has reached that point, has the LDR, is now a tangible threat to these 42 tanks. And now the waves shall start to flow on in towards the 42 base. Tier 2s first. Inhibitors very much in their sights though. Okay, yeah, okay. Impale on the touch. He will drop here, but that's the support down. You've still got a lot of members to deal with. JJ.
Yo, JJ, what?
Looks for Dusty. Won't be able to find him. Put some good damage down on the Banyasti, but Chrissy unable to follow. Gets caught by the route out from Dusty.
Damage.
42, they persist, they survive, but they had to give up 2 towers to do it.
That was crazy aggressive right there out of JJ. Like you said, they lose out onto quite a lot of towers, a lot of standing gold, unfortunately, for that play. Still, they're not going to be massively unhappy with stopping the play, at least, but they are down by a huge chunk of gold, 7,000. With under a minute now until we're going to be seeing this next Drake spawning up, and this is the big one. It's going to be Soul 4 Unique if they can pick it up. 42, they love to grab this one. They have a lot of uses for this Ocean Soul if they could grab it. Still a long way off for them.
40 seconds until this next Drake spawns. The Baron buff will have fallen off Unique, I believe, when it does spawn. But, you know, a little mercy for the
It's
side
on.
of 42. Atuso looking for an
Atuso
angle
needs
in
to hit
this
a
time.
3-man. He needs to hit a 3-man impale here.
At this point in the game, it's worth noting 42 now are the ones that do have the inside line, but
Archfiend. Oh, it misses!
Impale
Impale misses!
misses the TP from Archfiend. Now joining the play, Vatuso gets melted. Tanky before, it doesn't matter. As Archfiend finds the back line. Chrissy obliterated. Baumif, the last man standing. He ain't going to be able to do much as a TP from Dusty will get that wave in top lane. Unique should be able to close the game out here. 30-second death timers. They will push in alongside that stacked top lane wave. It was a slow burn, but once that fire caught hold, it burned through everything 42 held dear. Right now, they will redeem themselves for a game lost yesterday. Unique will remain at the top of the standings.
5-1 for Unique. They don't fall down into that 4-2 cluster of teams that we have at the moment. Really important for playoff chances and seeding. If you can keep yourself ahead of the pack, locking up that first seed is going to be huge. And what a performance it was. I mean, it wasn't as clean as we're used to seeing. Unique, before that loss, they've won the game. You know, you're going, it's relatively even, it's done. That was a lot more back and forth, but it felt like there just wasn't enough for 42. They weren't winning enough of these fights. Beyond that miracle 4v5 that they were able to pick up, none of those team fights went in their favor, and you just can't win games like that, unfortunately.
No, and that was, I think, a less chaotic game from 42. And there were certainly, as you said, some good moments. But perhaps chaos is the environment that 42 thrives in because of the plays that were started. Most of them were Unique started and Unique ended.
Yeah.
It was that one chaotic situation that they forged after Rexat died that all descended into chaos, that people are trying to kill everybody left and right, and somehow 42 come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, if 42 were able to come out on top of a couple more of those fights, things could have been very different. There was that one mid lane fight play where 42 were chasing onto Unique, trying to get them back, but they were able to just escape out and then turn, re-engage because of the just ridiculous amount of damage that the Hui can do. I think for all of the teams, don't give the Hui over. Apparently it can be played by two of these guys to a brilliant effect. I think unfortunately that might just be a permaban up against Unique.
I mean, as soon as it becomes a legitimate flex concern,
Yeah.
I think it's just not worth it anymore. I mean, they were already banning it against Deadhound. So just ban it against both of them and you're probably a little bit better off. We do have one more interview coming up. I'm being told Archfiend will be coming in for that. Give us a couple of minutes to set that up and then we'll close out the day with that. See you in a bit. And here we are with the final interview of the day. We are joined by Archfiend, a creature of the darkness, it would seem. Welcome in.
Yeah.
Congrats on the win.
Thank you.
So, yesterday, obviously, we're going to have to address it. The loss of
Yeah.
Garden Gaming, how did it affect the team?
I feel like we still had our energy up after that loss. It wasn't a depressive loss. We were actually happy that we lost that game because it shows that it wasn't gonna be that one-sided, the tournament. And yeah, that was the energy after the loss. We weren't let down, and we are now starting a new win streak.
A really good way of looking at it. And I mean, we often talk about how teams who lose their undefeated streaks, the next team to face them often doesn't have a great time. So what did you do to set your sights on 42 and make sure you could bounce back from that loss streak immediately?
I mean, we looked at their stats in the division and their solo queue games. We basically scouted them like we do with every team. And we put up a plan, synergize our comp, talk what we want during the game, and follow a plan. That's how we do it in every game. Look at pro games, and we improve in solo queue, like every team and every player.
Perfect. And I mean, in your individual lane matchup specifically, we were talking about how the Skarner really surprised us getting all the way through to that R5 pickup. Really surprised us that you let it through. It's been pretty much banned in every single game this whole tournament. Did you guys not really think it was going to be that much of an issue? How was the Renekton versus Skarner matchup for you?
I mean, I've played Skarner a lot before the live patch now because I think on this patch is a bit harder to play him since his mana is really gone after this Q nerf. But before I played this matchup like a lot, so I know that once he gets that Warmog and the Fimbo Winter, it's really hard to play because he can just trade freely. I can't one-shot him basically, and he gets free prio. But before that, I basically try to get my prio all the way and look for grubs, look for invades. That's how I play the matchup with Rene, I think, and deny as much as I can. And that's how it goes.
Yep. It seems most of your answers kind of fit the pattern of if it ain't broke. Like, you're doing explain to us pretty much exactly how most teams prep for a game. And that seemed like a pretty standard affair top lane for you as well. Final question, I think, and that's coming towards the end of the first round robin. I've been saying this to most teams, but you're looking quite likely to come out on top, at least if you win your last game against Lazy in Life. By the way, I want to see Tide versus Touch is going to be hype, considering they used to play together. I know that much. But as you're currently sat on top, who do you expect to be alongside you, like in second place, coming into the second round robin?
I mean, since we lost to Garden Gaming, I think we will. But right now, I don't have any predictions on who will be on top. There are many games left, and I think that all teams have a higher chance to come with us on top and fight against us, and maybe claim some victories and defeats as well. So we'll see how it goes. I think Garden Gaming are the second to best team, I guess, alongside us. So that's my prediction, at least.
That's the endorsement from Archfiend, folks. All right, we will let you go in a second. Do you want to shout anyone out before you go?
I mean, not really. I just want to shout out my team, I guess, because they're amazing. The atmosphere is really comfortable to play in, and everyone is nice. So I guess my unique esports team, that's who I want to shout out, I guess. That's it.
That is sufficiently wholesome.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Archfiend, for coming for the interview. We'll let you go now. Congrats again on the win. Of course, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you. Thank you.
All right. 4 more games in the books, Max.
Indeed, and what a day it was. We had some pretty back and forth games. I think other than game 1, which kind of felt the most stumpy, everything else felt pretty back and forth the whole time.
Yeah, it was 4 great games to see. And yeah, obviously Unique sit at the top as it stands, but we've got quite a cadre of teams behind them at 4 and 2, looking to jostle on up. Perhaps if Unique drop the ball against Lazy in Life next Thursday, I believe, then we might see some new teams in Ascendancy. We come on through. That is going to do it for us for the day, though. I've been Brackish joined by the Illuminary, my best buddy Black Bloxer, and of course, Casual Cutie Zoe, our other best bud on production. Thank you all for coming along. More NLC Div 2 coming next week. We will see you then.